Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020. Big day, big day. The NBA is back. There will be scrimmages today on NBA TV from the bubble down in Orlando. It seemed like that bubble is a very interesting thing. You know, they're building a barbershop down there. They were fishing. There's some ping pong. They got a lot of gaming going on down there. They got golf going on. There's shotgunning of beers going on. There's a lot of things going on down there. And I love the fact that the NBA is trying to do everything it possibly can to make the bubble as relaxing and comfortable as possible, because they understand that this is a massive commitment by the players to be away from their families for 35 to 40 days, especially in the middle of the world that we're currently living in. And it feels like they are really off and running. The NBA has had 0 positive COVID-19 tests. Now, Pat Connaughton, who is not down there, he tested positive. There is an NBA player that has tested positive, as did Spencer Dinwiddie, friend of the show. He tested positive, but nobody from the bubble has tested positive. Now, there's been 3 players who have left the bubble due to extenuating circumstances, I believe is the proper lingo for how they're describing it, but it's family emergencies. We obviously hope everybody's okay. But when they come back, what is the process going to be? Will they have to have a quarantine off by themselves in their hotel room? If they don't come back, what happens there with I mean, there's just a lot to figure out, but it feels like the bubble down in Orlando is working. The MLS is also down in Orlando. They've had 4 consecutive rounds of testing with no people down there. So these ideas that got tossed out there very early in the quarantine. The NBA was trying to figure out whether or not they were going to go to Las Vegas, where they're going to shut down an end of the strip, where there'd be some things, or they were going to go down to Orlando and they were going to bubble. And then the thought was, well, maybe there'll be this. All the conversations that led to the thought of the bubble were like, is that really going to happen? Is that really what they're going to be able to do? Are they going to be able to do that? And nobody really had any clue. It feels like they're doing that. Yesterday, the court that they'll be playing on debuted. It's a stage. It's light, the amount of lights. It's like you're at a Broadway play with the amount of lights on the side of that thing. And then the court is raised up. There's obviously big backdrop. There's no crowd. There's no nothing. I don't even think commentators are going to be in there, even though if you look at this video that Chris Mannix posted yesterday, shout out to Chris Mannix, by the way, for getting this video onto the internet for the world to see and get a chance to see this setup that is going to be beautiful down there in the bubble. Once he spans by, there's a lot of humans in this bubble that I don't think are in the NBA. That bald white guy might be, I don't know. But there seems to be a lot of people that are down in that bubble. And if they built this and had to do that, I think this has been a great job of managing humans and the air and the virus and keeping the players separate, so make sure you get off games. But I think they're allegedly going to have 20 plus cameras on the court. So it's going to be like an all access type footage. The thing is lit up all sides of it. There won't be a bad seat in the house, it feels like, from a camera standpoint. This could be coverage of basketball in a brand new way that we all very much enjoy. I remember they showed the Last Dance Game 6 or whatever the day after the Last Dance final on Monday, and it was like the documentary footage of the game. In some angles, it was impossible to watch an entire game from the angles that they had. They had like artistic angles, like down from the side, and like there was one that like followed, and it was impossible to watch the entire game from that. But having access to those clips, I think is going to be incredible, especially if you get these incredibly talented people from TNT and ESPN and the people that have been directing games, and now they're getting a brand new toy almost. Like, hey, here you go. We have this sideline shot that actually will run down the court. It's a robot that will run right down the side of the court while J.R. Smith is back for the Lakers. Swish. There's going to be such good coverage, and the scrimmages start today. I think Magic Clippers is probably the most notable scrimmage that's happening tonight. Other than that, I just think they're taking one more step forward. Wizards Nuggets, I guess, Zion Pelican. He's not down there though. So that's why my head said Magic Clippers in. I already thought about that. I already went through that whole thing. Kings Heat, Pelicans Nets, Wizards Nuggets, Magic Clippers tonight, or today actually. And I think we'll get a chance to see the first like coverage of what the game's going to look like, because these are tryout practices for the production crew as well. Oh, I didn't know we had a camera that could do that. Look at this camera. They could probably drop the sky cam right down into the thing. They said, I think they're going to be on a delay due to the potential swearing, like 5-10 second delay, because they're going to be a lot of access to sounds. And by the way, no big deal. I've sat a couple NBA games with my feet on the wood, as they say.
Floor seats, baby.
Really important.
Yeah.
Really important. It's ridiculous when you sit down there, because the way it's set up is as if you are a part of the show. Okay, so everybody in the arena, because when they go to timeouts or anything like that, everybody's just staring in one spot, and you happen to be on the one spot that they're staring, no matter where you're sitting. My favorite spot was behind the hoop front row because I try to pull down boards. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get rebounds. I'm boxing out. I actually had a moment with Jason Kidd, I think that I've talked about a few times, where I brought in a board. Okay, it was their ball going out. And I just stared Jason Kidd right in the eye. Which camera is it? This one here?
Yeah.
I stared him right in the eye, just like this with the ball. And I go, take it, Jason. Take it. And he looks me in the eye, and he just like, there's a moment where he's just completely like panicked and frazzled a little bit, and he points at the ref and tells the ref to get the ball from him. It was a magical moment between me and Jay Kidd, but I enjoyed those seats. But when you're sitting down there, okay, it's awkward. When you get up to go to the bathroom, everybody knows how your bladder's acting. You know everything you're eating. I don't love it, but boy, it is a very interesting way to take in a sport because you realize how tall everybody is, okay? Because you're down there right next to them now. And I'm not saying any seat in an arena is a bad seat, but whenever you're a little bit far, I think your depth perception can maybe take away from the fact that, yeah, they're big, but you don't get to actually see how, when you're down there, you get to see how large these dudes are. They are just massive human beings. It makes no sense how they and you are the same. But then when you hear them talking, it is awesome banter. Like during free throws when guys are sitting right next to each other, especially when you're on that end seat, the things that are being said by those guys to each other are sometimes hilarious, sometimes insightful, and sometimes very, very, very like derogatory. And I believe that is potentially something that the NBA is very worried about because a lot of NBA players, I think everybody know, are super competitive. But whenever you see them, the way they dress, the way they're polished human beings, right? The NBA does a great job of, not a great job of, but very positive product. And you're down there in Disney World, and I think there are potential chances there where a few F-bombs could potentially be strung together in a fashion that they have never heard before on television. And that the bleep person is going to have to be on top of that. But the stuff that doesn't have swear words in, that we just hear about, and that's why those mic'd up things are so important because people get a chance to hear what's actually being said on the field, either to themselves, by the way, a lot of people talk to themselves on the field, or to other people. That type of access also being a part of the coverage, aside from the dump button that is inevitably going to have to happen, that is going to be cool. It's going to be like a documentary while watching live games, and it's all going to be competitive because it's a playoff run. I mean, I think the NBA is going to be awesome, and we get our first glimpse of it today.
Yeah, it's very exciting because like with the 0 tests in the bubble the other day, like there's not a worry in the world. Like the NBA is happening.
Yeah, and it feels as if like the NBA is starting to get comfortable too down there.
Yeah.
You got guys making vlogs from down there. Yep. You got guys, and I forget who said it yesterday, but somebody said the new super team is going to come out of this. And I think he was complaining about it whenever he said it. But everybody else was like, oh, that's awesome. We get like 4 all-star teams that come out of this. But I feel like this is bringing the NBA together.
Oh, yeah.
Like the NBA is going to be tighter than it's ever been. And I think that's coaches. I think that's players. I don't know if executives are down there. I would assume there has to be some executives down there, but this is going to bring them together. It's almost like when I went on a USO trip to Japan. We went to Japan. It was me, Chuck Pagano, Anthony Costanzo, Dwell Jackson, and Pops, Mike Adams. Matt Conti, Colts PR guy as well. We go over there, and when you go to a place where nobody can speak your language or even attempt to speak your language, like not even trying, and you can't even try to attempt their language either because it is nothing like our language. I mean, it is just a completely different world over there. You don't understand anything. And to be completely honest, from what we learned is Japan doesn't exactly love America, okay? Like America, like we were told don't go to certain places. But when we were there, we got brought together so much. Like I would assume me, Chuck, DeQuell, Costanzo, Pops, and Conti wouldn't have been as close as we are. DeQuell still comes on the show. Pops still comes on the show. You know, like Chuck and I are still tight. It's like, it's one of those things where, and Costanzo doesn't do a lot of media, but like that's one of those things whenever you go somewhere and you're all you got, like you really learn about each other. You really come together. That's why training camp is such a big deal for teams. But right now, the entire NBA is doing that for at least a month and a half. I mean, that league is going to come out very, very tight. Speaking of training camps, new rules have rolled out in the NFL. It is being leaked by Tom Pelissero. It's being, by the way, he's been a go-to here in this entire thing.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Pelissero, I don't know what Ian Rappaport did, okay? We don't know what Rappaport did. He was a friend of ours. Came on the show the other day from his basement. He broke news like 20 minutes after he came on our show, which he says you never know when he comes, but great conversation. Tom Pelissero seems to have the in from the NFL Network to whoever's breaking all the news here. As of yesterday, it was announced no preseason games this year. Oh. Man.
No. Come on. Damn it.
That's a tough one, you know? That's one of those things where you look at, especially as a player, and you go, how? How will we survive? How will that happen? Players have never won a preseason game, and everybody obviously knows why. You get paid next to nothing. Risk is very high. It's literally nothing like the football you're going to play in a few weeks when it's regular season. So players have been against preseason football for a long time. That just needs to be something that is understood by everybody, and you can see why. Some players are making 1/50th of what they'll make during the regular season to play in a game that's in front of no people and nobody really cares about. It's just, there is a lot of drawbacks to preseason football, and now it has been agreed to that there will be no preseason games this year. And I would assume players are going to have a great conversation moving forward to the owners like, hey, listen, I know when you guys sell season tickets, you sell the 2 preseason games and nobody really goes to them. They end up being on sale on the internet on like SeatGeek for like, I don't know, $4 or $5 every single time. I know it's a big part of your business plan. You can make some more money, but let's talk about this a little bit. Didn't we not like having next to no preseason games? The players are going to say that. But the owners, and we learned this the other day, the owners and the executives in the NFL are in an interesting position here with no preseason games because they get zero chance to try out the protocol for their stadiums being refilled with humans. Workers, how workers will be able to get food, how they'll keep the food secure if they're even serving food, how do they sit people, how do people go into the stadium and come out of the stadium if they're at 20% capacity as opposed to this? Is there a timing route? All that stuff is very interesting to the roll back out of football. And also, if you look at the NASCAR races, I guess they were able to accomplish it pretty easily. They just dropped it in there and nothing happened. And we haven't heard any stories of that completely backfiring down in Bristol or in Iowa. So I guess them being able to do without it. But I would assume this year the NFL was like, can we at least have one? Can you give us just one so some of our teams can do it? And the players are like, well, I mean, we are risking already. That would be something to be really tough. And I saw a lot of people tweeting me last night whenever I tweeted the oh no thing. Oh no. Oh no.
No. He wasn't ready.
He wasn't ready. Talented storyteller.
Oh, yeah.
Talented. I went to see him in this arena. Man.
You sold out?
Oh, yeah. So it was awesome, too. He had an entire show. I mean, I'm a big fan of the way he's made, like, I think, $6 billion at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty successful.
Yeah, he's like this tall, but I mean, he absolutely crushes
from Philly.
everything. But a lot of people tweeted me after I put that out. They're like, oh, yeah, the veterans seem happy, but what about those young guys? And what about the bottom half of the roster? They're getting screwed. And it's like, I actually agree with you. They are getting screwed in this particular case, but not just by the preseason. How about the no OTAs? How about the no rookie minicamp? There's a lot of reasons why. And also, if you're an undrafted rookie and you're the bottom half or bottom like quarter of the roster, the team also is not invested in you at all. So there's no reason for them to keep you. If you're a first round pick, it's like, okay, we wasted, if the person isn't performing as good, a first-round pick. We have to hold on to this person. We have to do that. So there's a lot of reasons why the younger guys or the rookies are being screwed in this particular case. In preseason football, the games, I can understand why people assume that that is a bad situation for rookies if they don't get a chance to play in these preseason games to prove that they should be on the team. And I understand what you're saying, but the better way to look at that is the rookies and the undrafted guys and maybe because they're going to camp with 80 people as opposed to normally 90. So the bottom 30 guys who get cut, maybe even more for each team, not getting a chance to be seen by the other teams is what the biggest problem here is for the rookies and younger guys. Because whenever you're playing in those preseason games, especially if you watch third or fourth quarters of preseason games, those games, yes, they're definitely for the team that they're currently playing for, because the team that you're playing for, if you make a good play, is going to celebrate you. You're going to be on the bus with them. But if the team has already decided that you're playing in the fourth quarter, there's a very good chance that you're probably not going to make that team anyways, for whatever reason. Normally it's a numbers game. Like, hey, you're not going to make this team because we have to carry 7, 8 offensive linemen because we don't know about this person. So there's a lot of things that factor into people getting cut. But those fourth quarters, third quarters, that's what all the other coaches, the other 31 teams who haven't been able to see you every single day at practice or in the meeting room or in the workout room or in the walkthroughs, that is what that is so vital for, is for those guys. So I would assume that there's going to have to be some sort of communication process for teams to figure out about those guys so they can get some sort of film on them. I don't know how that would ever work. I don't know how, if they made a mandate that the NFL teams had to share practice film of guys, I don't know if any NFL team would sign up for that, because that'd be like doing what the Cowboys do, which is basically build an apartment complex around your practice facility, which is wild that still happens. The business office, I would assume Mike McCarthy is going to go in there like inside man with a laser and just blast out every single window. But I don't know how they're going to do that. And that is why it stinks for the rookies and the undrafted guys. Not because their own team they don't get a chance to put on, which I would assume that you understand this now, but it's for the other 31 teams that potentially need somebody at your position but don't get a chance to see you. It is definitely not a dream situation for those guys. But boy, if those guys do make a team somehow and they play 2-3 years, they are going to love this decision, because that is how every single player felt about it last night. All the boys are here. We got a lot to talk about today. At Nick Marolda, how you doing, brother? Hockey, what's going on with hockey? We got a big announcement tomorrow coming from hockey.
Yeah, so you saw the NBA bubble that kind of leaked out, but the NHL is planning to unveil all their bubble facilities, amenities, everything in a virtual conference on Thursday.
Listen, Edmonton does not deserve this, but we have a Canadian correspondent who's currently stuck in Canada, and he will be in America as soon as he is allowed to, basically.
Yeah.
He said, with a very straight face, very confidently, with his accent, that Edmonton's a dump. So Edmonton's one of the host cities. Edmonton's a dump is what he said. I didn't say it, by the way.
No, you did not.
I don't want any Edmonton listeners or viewers to know. I did not say that. Okay? Powell said it, Gumpy. He said that. He said Edmonton's a dump. And then the flood happens, and it's like, well, maybe he's right. I feel like the people that are in Toronto, because we've been to Toronto a couple times, hey.
Beautiful city.
Oh,
Beautiful.
awesome city. I feel like the Eastern Conference potentially won this one, but I don't know anything about Edmonton. I'm excited to hear what the NHL is putting in their hubs, so their players who are in one of the most tasking sports to ever exist in the entire thing, what they'll be able to do while they're locked away from their families for the long haul here.
Yeah, I've taken some pot shots at Edmonton too, just because you hear the reputation from the players around the league when it comes to free agency time. It's like players don't want to sign in Edmonton because there's not a lot to do there.
Oh,
but
so is Edmonton just like out in the middle? Is it by Saskatoon?
I think it's near Saskatoon,
It is near
like
Saskatoon.
120 clicks to the west, but I'm not positive.
it's up there,
It is.
cold winter time. But, you know, they got Connor McDavid. They got Leon Draisaitl, who's probably going to win the MVP. He won the scoring title. So, yeah, promising young players for the core there. So there's some attractive.
But the
nostalgia.
NHL, let's get back to the NHL. They're debuting what they're going to have down there.
Yeah, they're gonna put a little video conference together to show like what the hotels are going to look like, what the arenas are going to look like, and give you a little sneak peek.
What about the MLS? These dudes, they got to be looking over what the NBA's got going on. They're like, listen, I guess we have no right to complain, but that is, what, a half a mile away? These guys are living like kings over there. Golfing. We haven't heard anything from the MLS. No complaints either, so maybe we're wrong on how it's being handled. But the NBA, that setup, the NHL, it's going to be tough to keep up with that one. But the NHL players have said, listen, as long as I got a bed and I got ice, that's all I care about. That's an actual quote from a hockey player.
Yeah, Vladdy Tarasenko from the St. Louis Blues pretty much said it best, and he pretty much spoke for every player as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, just give me a bed, give me ice, we're ready to go.
Yeah, that's every single NHL.
Echoed all the sentiments.
Hey, listen, we all talked. We're all in a group text. This is how we feel. Give bed, have ice, we play. That is from every NHL player. But it does feel like the NHL has been handling this all well. And with what happened with the NBA down there with the bubble and it working, the NHL has a lot of things that they can look at and say, this look good, let's do that.
Only 2 positive tests out of the 800 they tested during the training camp phase.
Hey, that's a low percentage.
Oh, yeah.
That's a very low percentage. I'm not saying it. At Tone Diggs, what's up, dude?
Oh, and Crosby's back on the ice today.
Sidney Crosby! That's good for the NHL, by the way, to have the best player that's ever played skating on the ice whenever there's going to be a lot of eyes on their product. At Tone Diggs, sports seem to be all the way back. Massive gambling day tomorrow with the MLB coming back.
Huge gambling day. Absolutely huge gambling day. And normally I'd be upset about the no preseason for the NFL because it's like a taste of football when all you've had all summer was baseball to watch. But now, since there's going to be NBA and there's going to be NHL and there's going to be baseball and
MLS
and MLS and AFL
and golf.
PLL.
UFC.
No one cares about the PLL.
They just gave us a little love yesterday. I got the PLO asked their people who I should be a fan of or whatever. And this is, I mean, you saw You literally saw Connor go 6 to midnight as soon as he saw that tweet go out. The big lacrosse guy, and also Mitt, guys, big lacrosse guys.
I love
but,
that.
well, the rest of us know nothing about the sport.
That's good for them, but unless John Hopkins is playing Syracuse, I don't care about it. But I have all these other things, and I don't have to worry about my team getting hurt. I kind of like the no preseason this year.
Especially with Roethlisberger. Coming back. Now, he missed an entire year, so maybe preseason, gets him back into a routine. I think what is underappreciated about preseason games for the NFL is you go through like the routine of game day. Like the day before the first preseason game, you'll actually walk through the warm-up setup. Like the timing of the warm-up setup, where you'll go to on the field. Okay, and you'll even walk through it. You'll jog out. Okay, you'll be here for 5-10 minutes. Then you'll go back to here. Then you're in individual groups here. Then it goes to team 7-on-7. Then O-line, D-line comes in, and you all have this part of the field. You go through that entire thing, the process of a game the day before, and then inevitably somebody messes it up. Somebody runs to the wrong position group. Somebody goes somewhere, and it's always a conversation piece. So the walkthrough every single time it's kind of pointless, but that's what a preseason game does too. Coming out of halftime, what's the warm-up? What routine do you want to get into for the season? So there are some things that will be missed, but boy, all the drawbacks of preseason not being there are great news. Like, injuries are a big deal.
That's all you do. Like a preseason for me was like, all right, learn about guys that you have no idea who may be like the 50 through 53rd guy on the roster, and then pray for no injuries each play. Pray for no injuries each play.
It really is two different seasons completely because, like you said, learn about guys that are maybe 50, 53 in the roster. I think fans become like a fan of that person. They're like, oh, this person's going to dominate for us. And then first game comes and you see, oh, there's 4 other receivers that are. And that person's completely forgotten about, by the way. That person is completely forgotten about until the next preseason. Like, remember last preseason, he had a big showing. This year, he could potentially again. And they dominate. And there's obviously been some players who have broken through from preseason and became absolute studs. But it feels like more often than not, there's a lot of players that have great preseasons and there's a lot of promise. And then they're either cut or they don't even really play. They'll come in on like a third down. And it's two very different seasons. But it is that taste of football again everybody loves. And then for a quarter, I think most people are like, okay, all right, regular season, whenever that's going to happen, let's get to that.
No, and I know just from being in Pittsburgh forever, like there's always like some 5th outside linebacker who has 2 sacks in the preseason, then everyone's very, very upset when he gets cut and he goes to another team, and they're like, we're going to regret that, and then he doesn't sniff the field for that other team ever again, and you never hear his name again, and you're like, well, let's all relax just a little bit.
Every year, every team. That happens. Every single year, every single team. And there's been players who have obviously got cut and took off, but it feels like more often than not, it's the other way around. But preseason is big for guys getting jobs. At Ty Schmidt, baseball back tomorrow. Here we go. We got Yankees at Nationals. Tony Foch is throwing out the opening pitch. We are currently running a poll right now because we're team gamblers here. Okay, we like the community. At my Twitter, at Pat McAfee Show, I released a poll and said, which team should we super boost? Okay, we have 24 hours. So tomorrow at 9:40-ish a.m., we will decide via a Twitter poll which team, the Nationals or the Yankees, will we super boost the odds on. And I'll tell you what, I'm hoping to God it's the Yankees, but I'll let the people pick. I assume you feel very good going into the night as a diehard Yankees fan, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Last time I checked your poll, I believe it was 56% Yankees, 44% Nats. I mean, either way, it doesn't matter. You know, if you got a brain in your head, you're going to be betting on the Yanks tomorrow. I mean, I guess if you want the super boost and the Nats end up winning, then fine, take it. But you're going to want to be laying your cash on the Yankees tomorrow.
Well, I got a peek at what the super boost would be for the Yankees.
Ooh. Oh, you did?
It is
pretty
tasty. We should be hoping that the Yankees win.
Okay, well, there we go.
Yeah, because they're favorite.
Yeah.
And then they get some good underdog odds if we super boost it. Yeah. And then the Nats one is also a good super boost. I don't know how any of this works, by the way. I don't know how FanDuel can do what they're doing and why they're doing what they gave $80 million out, yesterday?
Yeah.
To their users? $80 million out? Then we're boosting odds. Just like the biggest part of sportsbook is that's how you make your money is you put odds on things. And this has been insane relation. I mean, I'll wear the shirt every day just because it's the most insane business partnership I've ever had in my entire life. I am literally trying to take their money from them in creative, fun ways. And
they're happy about it.
They're like, yeah, keep it up.
Come on, take it.
You got it. And I'm able to give a bag of $50,000 to all my boys because of it. They're like, yeah, why don't you do more? I'm like, All right, man, makes sense. I'm just gonna have Twitter vote for it. Is that okay? Yeah, I was like, kind of reckless, I guess. They're like, no, well, screw it, just go ahead. I'm like, you got it. Hey, let's go.
I mean, it's no BS. They're the juiciest, tastiest odds you're gonna find anywhere.
It makes no sense. And now, last time, obviously, and I don't know if I should be upset or FanDuel should be upset, but I come up with these ideas on how we, take more money from FanDuel via gambling.
Sure.
And there was another sports book that took one of my ideas. Do I send a cease and desist? Does FanDuel send a cease and desist? Or do we just say, hey, there's going to be more, bub. Don't worry about it. Do whatever you got to do.
Typically with intellectual property theft, I think sooner or later, you're going to get bitten in the ass by that. So.
Yeah, it's karma.
Exactly.
Karma will get you.
Exactly.
Jason McAfee's here, looking fantastic. At Viva Lazita, wearing his Portillo's hot dog.
Happy National Hot Dog Day.
Hey, great day to have Brian Urlacher on the show then. Chicago legend. National
Chicago legend.
You're excited for us to chat with him in the second hour, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk to Brian Urlacher. He has hair. He has a lot of hair.
Head.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also potentially a part of the group that wants to buy the Mets. And Zito said the hair company that he has in Chicago, there's 7,000 billboards in Chicago?
Easily, yeah. If you're in Rosemont, you will see every billboard you'll see it will be Brian Urlacher.
With hair on his head.
Exactly.
I would assume Urlacher potentially, and we had this conversation as a group, so I don't want to act like I was the human that thought of this, but I would assume Urlacher probably has ownership of that company.
You would think.
He's trying to get into ownership of the Mets. What other stuff does Urlacher have ownership of that we don't know about? Does anybody know that Brian Urlacher is like a serial investor and entrepreneur? I didn't know that.
No.
I didn't know that the former safety at New Mexico State that moved into one of the most hellacious middle linebackers in the history of football also had great business acumen. Now, granted, is it great business acumen? I'm not sure if any of the companies are succeeding. I don't know if he gets the Mets, but I like the fact that he's going after it. And I would assume, by the way, if it's Brian Urlacher, probably succeeding.
Oh, yeah.
Number one in the field, number one in my heart.
His number wasn't number one, but
He was number one in the field, though.
just in your eyes or Chicago's eyes? He was an animal.
Absolute animal.
Absolute animal. He used to fly. He used to fly around. He was a punt returner in college. Emmett McMahon reminded me of that because probably Tom McMahon was scouting him as a punt returner at one point for special teams. He was like, remember, Urlacher returned punts in college. I was like, I did know that, but I did forget about that. And that is something you should not forget about. An NFL middle linebacker was a punt returner. I mean, that is just outrageous. Can't wait to talk to him. At Evan Foxy's here. At Evan Foxy, obviously pumped about his life currently. The Detroit Lions kicker, Matt Prater, yesterday. We talked about how if he breaks a record, Coors Light should give all of Detroit beer because Bud Light's doing that for Denver if McManus breaks Prater's record for longest field goal. We still have yet to hear anything from Coors Light or the city of Detroit.
Yeah, Matt Prater liked the tweet, so I think he's all in on it, and we're going to need him to hit that 66-yarder because I know the Lions are going to make a nice playoff run this year.
Well, he only has to hit a 65-yarder, so if he hits a 66-yarder, it'll be even better. Maybe
Bingo.
2 beers for all of Detroit.
Bingo.
But I'm worried that since Detroit doesn't have Wi-Fi, that they didn't hear our message. And I hope we could potentially change
I mean,
that.
Flint doesn't have clean water either. I mean, we got all these sports back, Pat, and I don't even have a team to root for because they all stink. And that's another shot at the FanDuel. I'm keeping it interesting for me.
Listen, Detroit, we've been there. Great people.
Yes.
They deserve better from their sports and from their city.
I 100% agree.
I just think they do. Good. But hey, persevere up there. Honestly, persevere up there in Detroit.
The sun is brightest after it's darkest dawn.
Hey, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself a villain, Foxy.
Bingo.
And that's what Detroit has done. At Boston Connors on the phones, 1-833-622-3331. You look hilarious.
Thank you, Pat. I got a few things for you. First, Yankees blow. Let's go Nats. Second, if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it, if the MLS complains, does it really make a sound? And third, Rex Ryan mentioned yesterday, no preseason games going forward, 18 games, 2 buys. What do we think?
I like the 2 buys. I've always said if you want to add a game or if you want to add 2 games, even that's going to be a whole nother conversation. You have to add at least another buy. And that was something that was proposed and it was on the table, I guess, during this last CBA negotiation, but the extra buy was not in there. And I think that would have potentially pushed it over the edge if you give guys another buy, because then they get paid for what? 19 weeks, 1 extra game. here we go. Get rid of preseason games where we're making nothing and wasting time. That'd be a good move. I don't know if it's going to go to 18. I would assume 17. But if they drop that down to 2 preseason games, 17 regular season games, and 2 buys, hey.
We're in business.
Listen, I don't have to run my face into a defensive lineman 100 times a day or whatever, and I don't have to do any of that tough stuff. But sitting from the outside in, it feels like that's a much better offer than adding a game, no bye weeks, and keeping 4 preseason games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But will the players pass it? I'm not sure because it is tough to finish a season in the NFL. You see guys towards the end of the season. By the way, and if you're on a good team, that's when it matters the most. And you got guys that are just kind of, I don't want to say crawling to the finish line, but Saturday's like the first day after a Sunday game the next week that they're starting to even feel like remotely mobile again. And then bang, they're right back in it on Sunday. There's positions in football, obviously, that are like modern day gladiators that are just beating the hell out of each other in illegal fashion amongst the rules. But on a repetitive basis, when you're big guys like that, there's a lot of collisions. So players saying we don't want to add a game isn't because they don't enjoy the sport or don't understand. It's because to finish a season right now, a lot of guys that you don't even know about that probably come up on the injury report, but they just get skimmed over because they're an offensive lineman or defensive lineman or linebacker. It's like, oh, he'll play. It's not that big of a deal. Those guys' lives from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes even into Thursday, Friday there, it is not but hey, you're getting paid very well. They understand that. And you get to be in the NFL as opposed to have to be in the NFL. But that's the concern whenever players hear another game like, hey, man, I was literally crawling into work on Thursdays, and now you want me to add a whole nother week of that. And by the way, and then the most important games happen. It is a big conversation piece for the NFL. Add another bye week, though. I think that gets a lot tastier for the players.
So for those wild card games, do you think a majority of those guys are playing off mostly just adrenaline?
Oh, yeah.
Like at that point?
Oh, yeah. In speed, I think I've told you guys this before. I went to West Virginia, and we were a very fast team, like literally very fast team. Everybody told us, well, you're fast for a Big East. You won't be able to keep up with the SEC. And then Sugar Bowl against Georgia, we literally just boat raced them, right? So we had a very fast team. I was not running sprints against anybody, although at that time, I think I could. Hey, I used to float now. Let's not get crazy. I mean, that is a little crazy, but I did used to run pretty fast. But we had a very fast team, and I always thought, like, okay, this is a fast squad. And then you get to the NFL, and you're in like your first OTAs and your first training camp, you're like, damn, these dudes are all very, very fast. This is unbelievable. And then you get to a preseason game, and it's like, oh, my God, this is much faster football than I thought it was. Then the regular season, it's like, oh, damn, we ramped this up even more. And then playoffs, it's like there's another gear somehow. I don't know. Everybody is just literally everything that they have, like kickoffs, for instance, or just like the wide open sprints. It felt like guys were trying to tear their hamstrings with how fast they were running and diving into people because you make it another week, you get another check, you potentially win Super Bowl. And also if you lose, all right, you got 4 months to do nothing and figure this out. But then when we got to the Super Bowl, I had no idea that there was even another one up there. The guys are just literally like, well, this is it. Fornicated. Let's go ahead. Oh, it was awesome to watch. But yeah, it's all just adrenaline and just literally everything you have. Like that is such a cliche term, like everything you have on that field. Everything you got. But like playoff football, it is literally now granted, there's obviously some guys that don't play that way, but for a majority, it's like these dudes are ready to just potentially get dragged off of this field. It's great. Intern Minutes here. We are 31 minutes into the show without a commercial break. We have to get to one right now. When we come back on the other side, we'll have Kevin Youkalis. This is Wednesday, July 22nd, Deep McAfee Show. Oh, shit. Hey, Steven, fuck you.
Don't cut. And it is off the wall.
Don't cut. This is a good at-bat. Hey, nice pitch. I think I just pulled a hammy. Hey. Back. Hey, fuck you, Steven. What inning?
Top of the second.
Jesus.
Here comes McAfee.
I saw that thing jumping out of the glove. Hey. What was that? Would have been nice to take a nap earlier.
Another throw.
Get back.
First. He's going back on it now. Coming over the center fielder. Harris makes the catch.
Cousin. James. What was that? And the catcher goes, I had to give you one.
1-1 pitch.
Let's go.
Line drive. Right
Son of a
at the
bitch. This is a good at-bat. Oh, in my head, it was like, oh, yeah, you're going to drop this for sure. What the fuck are you even doing here? Why did we sign up for this? What's going on? It all comes down to this. my last at-bat. Hey, I'm going to get on. You bring me home.
This is your life on the line, fucker.
Let me tell you something. You're going to take an L, okay? You're going to take one.
So I think that the close your eyes and swing method is perfect for you.
Oh, this is hardball.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Jesus. You have no prayer.
All right. Number one, right fielder, McAfee.
Oh, boy.
McAfee at the plate.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020. Big baseball show, obviously. Woo! Big baseball show.
Huge.
As you know, I was a starting right fielder for a professional baseball team that went on to come in second place in the league that they were in. Good baseball team. Mm-hmm. So I am a professional baseball player hosting a sports talk show, and we're one day before opening day of the MLB season, which nobody thought was going to happen. A 60-game sprint to see who's going to be the winner of the piece of metal at the end of this entire thing. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now is a two-time piece of metal winner from the MLB, Kevin Euclid.
Let's
go, Good morning, fellas. How you doing?
Hey, great. How are you? By the way, fan favorite over at the office, the Loma Brewing Company here, and also the Loma Coffee Company. I hope business is booming over there.
Things are good. Just people are enjoying the outdoor patio and social distancing and having a good time. So we're happy as can be right now, but long road ahead with this winter, man. It's going to be tough, but we'll get through it.
Hey, keep swinging, bro. You see what I did? See what I did there with the baseball reference? Let's talk about
or keep taking.
Let's talk about baseball coming back. We'll dive into your thoughts on who you think is going to do well, whether it's the batters or pitchers, now that you've gotten a chance to see some stuff. Let's talk about what happened last night with Jorge Lopez in the Houston Astros, okay? ESPN, they got me. Okay, they got me. So they posted that, yeah, okay. You know what I'm going to say. They got me. They said they posted that Jorge Lopez being basically back-to-back batters, Altuve and Bregman, I believe, of the Astros. And they set it up in a fashion, and I mean, it was for me. They set it up for me to react the way I did. And I was like, so the Houston Astros thought that these pitchers forgot about what happened with the garbage can banging and anything. Was I completely wrong in thinking that was payback, or was those just two bad pitches that just so happened to hit the batter?
Yeah, they're definitely bad pitches that ran on the batter. Altuve, I looked back and I saw the same thing. I saw somebody post that, and I went back, and the ball just ran. I mean, as a hitter, you saw him like he went to go commit to the pitch, and it just ran on his hands. I mean, I probably got hit by half my pitches like that, but it's it's a part of the game. And I mean, these guys now, though, you're going to see the amount of hit by pitches has gone through the roof. If anybody goes and looks at the stats, you can see hit by pitches have been going up and up and up every single year. Guys are trying to throw harder, and when you try to throw harder, I mean, there's only a select few guys that can throw high velocity and spot their pitches. So it's just going to happen all the time. As this new school baseball is throw as hard as you can, try to spin the ball as hard as you can, which we've seen that is great in a lot of ways, but it's about being efficient. And these guys are having a hard time being efficient and hitting the strike zone.
Okay, so when I stepped into the batter's box for the first time in my life just a couple years ago, I stepped into the batter's box against a pitcher that was drafted by the
Brewers, I believe.
Brewers, whatever, okay? And I was like, hey, a baseball is very hard. Like, is this guy going to just hit the hell out of me with one of these baseballs? And I was told by everybody, like, no, he knows where it's going. That guy knows where it's going. You're in a good spot. And I was like, okay. And I was actually told, like, you'd be in much worse if it was a pitcher that wasn't drafted or something like that. You'd be much more scared because these guys, they have such control over the ball. Has it become something that batters have to think about when they step in there? Like, hey, we have to be a little bit more alert nowadays because of the chance of the insane pitches that they're going for. There's also a chance I could get beamed right in the face here.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the risk you take every time you step in the batter's box. There's a chance that you can get smoked, and that's part of it, though. It's you have to clear your mind with it, though, because if you think you're going to get hit, of course, you're going to give away the outside part of the plate because you're looking in, right? So
Rowan Gardner, for instance. Rowan Gardner, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to give it up.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah.
And that's the key to it all is, you have to get over that fear. There's two things that separate why guys move on in baseball and why they don't. Or a couple things, but the main one is, guys always say, I couldn't hit the curveball or I was scared of the ball. And that's just how your mentality has to be is you can't be scared. You got to go in there, you got to take the bat, and you got to just hope you don't get worn out in spots that really hurt. But that's why guys are also wearing so much guards. I hear all these old guys that played the game. They're like, oh, why are these guys wearing all that? I'm like, because these guys are throwing 95 plus and they have no idea where they're going. You got to wear something. You got to put something on your body. So I never get mad at guys for wearing a bunch of gear because, like I said, the hit by pitches, I mean, we go off statistical analysis all the time. It's there. It's factual. Guys are getting smoked more.
So the Astros players aren't thinking about that because they're thinking about that every time anyways. It's like at the point that we're in baseball, like they understand that that's just a potential thought. There's not like an Astros team meeting where they're like, all right, boys, we got this new helmet thing we're going to wear this year. We got these new rib cage protectors that we could potentially need just for the Astros this year. That's a thought for everybody anyways with the way baseball is.
Yeah, I mean, if I was on the Astros right now, I'd probably get some Kevlar, gun shop. But it's hard. I mean, these guys are definitely they got a bullseye on their back. But with the way baseball is going to crack down on it, they'll probably keep guys in line. But there's going to be there's going to be some outlaws. There's going to be some outlaw pitchers that don't care, and they're gonna beam them. So it's a tough situation to be in, but like I say, you put yourself into those situations in life.
Hey, you make the bed. You
do.
You gotta sleep in it, but to sleep in it, you gotta unmake the bed. So that statement never really made sense. But we will move forward. We will move forward and not talk about it tomorrow. primetime action in baseball. You got the Yankees and Nationals and the Giants and the Dodgers. Big baseball. What have you been watching via the spring training 2.0 that's in the middle of summer? And what should we be expecting? Are pitchers going to struggle? Are batters going to struggle? What are your initial thoughts here? Just watching the clips, I assume that you've been watching as the rest of the world has been.
Yeah, you just kind of never know, right? Like going into a season, it's just going to be a mix of bag of who's doing well. There's going to be there's going to be pitchers that struggle out the gate. There's going to be hitters that struggle out the gate. I think one of the whole thing with this season, right? There's 30 men on the roster right now. 2 weeks later, it goes to 28, then it goes down to 26. Everything is going to revolve around the bullpen. Whoever has the most depth in the bullpen will have the most success overall going forward, because in the early on, managers can really, really dissect and understand that they can put guys in. And if a guy's struggling, hey, this is a 60-game season. I can't let this guy go as far as I can. I'm going to have to take this guy out. With that being said, though, the first 2 weeks are not going to be – they're going to be very crucial in a lot of ways. But it's that 4 weeks in between. Because if you carry that 4 weeks after the first 2 weeks and you get really, really hot, you just ride it out for those next 6 weeks. The problem is, though, when some of these young guys are going to be, or these veteran guys too, you face these young pitchers that you've never seen before. So sometimes it takes a couple times getting through that in order to understand that pitcher. Well, you might not get to face that pitcher again. So some of these young players might have some instantaneous success because there are really good scouting reports on them, but there's not enough information with the eye tests where you step in the box and you get a feel of what they're throwing. So I think this is going to be a fascinating 60-game season that we're going to see ups and downs from many different type players, from young to old.
Me and Chipper Jones think the Tampa Bay Rays are going to have a good run. That's what we think. We think Tampa Bay Rays are going to have a good run.
That's a great pick. I mean, the hard part is you got the Red Sox, lineup they have to face, and you got the Yankees lineup, and it's a big division there. But the Rays have all the pitching. And if you have the bullpen pitching and you have a lot of arms and depth, you're going to give yourself a really good chance, because 60 games is nothing. I mean, hopefully guys can stay healthy through that, but you're also going to have to be prepared for those guys that try to go overboard and they might get some tweaks and stuff like that too by trying to do too much.
Will you stick around through the commercial break on YouTube?
For sure.
We have to get to a break for radio because our first segment went 32 minutes long. This is the Pat McAfee Show. We'll see you on the other side. What's so funny, Euclid? You got a fucking problem?
I just love how you're getting paid by YouTube.
That is a factual statement. Hey, YouTube's pretty cool. Let's what do you think? Is there going to be with no fans? What are we going to learn about baseball? Is there a lot more talking than we think? Are we going to be able to hear that? How do you think that is going to affect the culture of the game, basically, the environment of the game? Do you think that changes anything?
That actually, I didn't even think about that till now. You probably will have more hot mics.
Yes.
Because the fans are going to be out, and you're definitely going to hear some stuff that you probably shouldn't hear, which is, it's a good thing. I think that, the hardest one's the spitting. The rule I read about spitting, I mean, I didn't even dip like, you guys thought I did for all these years.
No, not me. Not me. That was Ty Schmidt that thought that. That was that guy.
Still can't believe it.
It's all good. Yeah, like I said, I maybe smoked a couple heaters.
Yeah.
Don't tell my kids that. I've told my kids. There they are. But I think that's the hardest rule, because it's like natural. Like you get in the box, you do your thing, and you got something out, you spit it out. Now it's on national TV, and everyone's gonna be telling you that you gave everyone COVID, even though you don't even have it. So. That's gonna be the wild part about it, I think, the spitting rule.
How are they testing? Do you know how they're testing? I don't think we've heard from the MLB how they're testing, have we?
Not really.
Didn't they spit in a tube like 14 times or whatever?
Every other day?
From what I've heard is they're doing it every other day. But some of these guys aren't even getting their tests back. I know Sean Doolittle talked about that, but I don't know. It's pretty wild.
I'd say. Every other, the NFL just had to roll out an entire thing. Like day 1, we're testing. Day 2, we got nothing. Day 3, we're testing. If you get 2 negatives in those 2 tests, then you can come on day 5 for the first day of training. If you don't, the entire testing regimen for everybody's been insane. But the MLB, we haven't really heard much about it. Haven't really heard much about it at all. And they're the ones that are traveling city to city. The NFL is watching the MLB all right, Y'all motherfuckers need to pull this off. All right, we need you guys to
Yeah.
pull this off. Legit.
Yeah, you guys get out. You get all the wrinkles out for us, and we'll just feed off on you and just move on. But yeah, I think football's in harder trouble because, as you know, I mean, you played football. I mean, you got way more dudes, and how are you? You gotta corral them all in. I mean, they're young. They're 22 to 30 years old, and in their prime. And hey, no one wants to sit around in your prime.
Just not allowed to do anything, by the way. I think it's
Eric Ebron
put out a tweet last night that said, "I'm preparing to leave my family for 6 months." I was like, "Damn, who said? Are they leaving it? They're going like just to training camp for the entire season." I didn't hear that, and then I saw that tweet, and I was like, "Damn, I haven't heard that from anybody." Who knows? The MLB is big for the NFL, though. I can't wait to watch the debut. Diggs, what you got?
Mr. Euclid.
Uke.
The Red Sox had a chance to pay Mookie Betts, and now it's coming out this morning that he's potentially going to get a 10-year extension with the Dodgers for $350 to $400 million. You think the Red Sox should have paid him?
That's a really good question because I think he was offered a really high price with the Red Sox from the people within my little circle. He was offered a very, very high value price. So I think similar to that. I could be wrong on that. I don't know specifically, but he was offered 2 years back. He was offered a very lucrative deal, and it's somewhere in that number. Could have been $300 million. I don't know. But he was offered a long-term deal that had very high value to him, and I think he was going to take his chances. Now he might be taking a step back, knowing that there's probably not a lot of suitors that can do that. And what not better than go with the Dodgers, who have tons of money. And let's be honest, even if you didn't get that number you hit, you can make that money off the field in Hollywood any day of the week.
I didn't know Hollywood just tossing out money like that over there. Good for them. Maybe Boston needs to pick it up a little bit with the sponsorships over there.
Nah.
Maybe you guys should care about your players a little bit more in Boston like they do in Hollywood.
Nah.
But Boston, they paid us very good off the field, let me tell you.
Vinny used to tell me stories. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I still get offers today, and I'm washed up to go do stuff.
Whoa.
Never. You're not washed up.
Uke, let's talk about the money here. These massive deals that the MLB has that we just got a taste of in the NFL with Patrick Mahomes. Now they're already talking about losing $60 million potentially on a salary cap next year for the NFL. Have you heard anything about how they're going to figure out the MLB deals with the guaranteed lost revenue that's going to happen from playing without? Like, how is that going to all get restructured? And is that all to be negotiated, or have they already figured that out in your eyes?
They'll be all right. All those owners will be all right in the end. This is their second profession or second ownership of a company. I mean, these guys own more things than you can even imagine, these ownership groups. So I always look at it and I always say, it's how it is. It's hard to explain this, but the players and their wages and salaries have been paid less than 50% of revenue for some time now. So the money is there. Some of these people bought in at like $100 million, and now they're valued at $2 billion. So I look at it as from a business standpoint, owning a business. Yeah, the books don't look good this year, but don't worry, those books will look really good in the next 5 years.
But what are the players going to get their money? That's what I didn't ever want to stick up for the owners, by the way. That was not what I meant to do.
Well, moving forward, I think, hopefully with all this COVID thing and going out and all that, everything will be back to normal eventually. And I think, the hard part is, though, we have a collective bargaining agreement this off season. So who knows? I mean, after this round of going through this COVID thing was very rough as someone that really truly loves the game of baseball, and I've always said the minute it turned into a business for me was the day I lost the love of the game in a certain way.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to explain it until you go through it. And, a lot of us professional athletes that have gone through it are just like, I just love playing this game. I love being around my teammates. I love winning. I love competing. And the money is just a byproduct of, my stats and success. And I get paid in that same realm as other players that have the same stats as me. So I think that's the hardest part in all this, and hopefully the Players Association and Major League Baseball sees the long-term goals in this whole thing. They need to figure out the blackout restrictions with TV. They need to figure out the little things that keep the game moving along for this younger generation that is going away. They don't care. Hey. I don't care if you're pimping home runs or showing more emotion. They don't care.
Manfred's the guy, though. Manfred is the guy to kind of, forge the ship through the river, Uke. That is definitely the case. What's up, Diggs?
Yeah, you got a question about the Blue Jays, that now they're going to be playing in PNC Park. How happy do you think they are that they're going to be in a MLB stadium for the entire year versus a minor league stadium in Buffalo or wherever they were rumored to potentially be?
And if they win Pittsburgh, they'll become Pittsburgh's team.
Yep.
Well, finally, Pittsburgh's got some really, really
All right, you. Jeez.
I had, every chance I get. That's for my boy Sean Casey in Pittsburgh too.
The mayor, love that.
That guy's the best. But yeah, no, it's what an interesting ride they're going to have, right? But the good part is though, customs. They're not going to have to go in and out of customs for the whole entire year. So those players are actually benefiting now of not having to deal with all the crap on the backside of going through customs and dealing with that on travel.
So they'll have to live in a hotel. Are all the other players living with their families during the season, and then the Toronto guys are just in a hotel in Pittsburgh? I've been in a few hotels in Pittsburgh. I'm not 100% sure they're going to love that.
Well, we stay at that one. Was it Four Seasons or something right
downtown?
Wow.
You live good. No, it's not Four Seasons.
There's a Fairmont downtown that's very nice.
It's a really nice. It's got a glass lobby.
We'll be back hour two.
Premianti Brothers is about a block away, so it's all good. It's all good.
Primanti's. Okay, pre-Manny's. I mean, you kind of disrespect.
I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's got French fries
and coleslaw, if you do recall. We just went right through the radio hard out there. You know what I mean? Just like super professional radio show. You got a chance to see it firsthand here. I appreciate you sticking on with us, man. You're the best.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's this is like I told you earlier in a tweet. This is opening day is gonna be a tough day for me. I lost my father 11 days ago, and my dad was the biggest baseball nut, biggest baseball fan. So, yeah, I mean, this baseball season couldn't happen at a better time for me personally and my family. And we're just going to be cheering on a great season. Hope everyone stays, healthy. And it's going to be, I'm cheering up already because opening day, my dad used to take us out of school. I'll never forget that. I don't know if your dad ever did that, but go the first 3 hours of school and then dad would take us out and take us down to the Reds game. So those memories will last a lifetime, and I'm just super proud that, I get to share those memories and cheer on some more baseball this year.
Hell yeah, let's celebrate your dad tomorrow a little bit. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
The thought of your old man coming down, they got a doctor's appointment. All right, get the hell out of here. That's absolutely awesome.
They knew exactly where we were going, too, because we were in all Reds gear, and, they knew exactly, and it was great.
Well, your dad did good, sir. Your dad did good. You're a hell of a gentleman, and we appreciate you every time you come on here. Sorry for your loss. Obviously, worst part of this whole life thing is the death thing. But, man, celebrating somebody that you love can be really cool, and I think opening day is a beautiful time to do so. We appreciate you coming on, Uke.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And, baseball's back, baby.
Hey, did they screen Uke for your dad everywhere he went?
You know what? They should have, because my dad was more legendary than I'll ever be in life. And he was there all the time, though. They went to so many games. And the greatest pride of my father was the Uke chants and just seeing the Euclid name on the back of a jersey.
Yeah.
Because we're all related. We're all related. It's a great family story. And my dad just from my kids wearing it in T-ball all the way up till seeing me on the back of the away Red Sox jersey, not the home one, but the away one. He loves seeing that Euclid name, and I'm very fortunate to have my number retired and name put out at UC and high school, and it's there forever. So it's pretty cool that we've put that Euclid name on the map. But my dad was the key to it all. Well, he was definitely the key.
Andrew in the Red Sox Hall of Fame, that'll be forever. Euclid's family will reign supreme for a long time, ladies and gentlemen. Two-time World Series champ, son of a legend, Kevin Euclid. See you. Appreciate you, man.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Cool dude.
Yeah. Beast.
Cool dude, man.
Mm-hmm. All-time Red Sox.
11 days ago, his dad passed away. Tomorrow's probably going to be quite a wave of emotion for him.
For sure.
I can't thank him enough for coming on. And what a good guy. And the beer is very good, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Ty and Booze Bag have been just slamming them all day.
That's your favorite one, isn't it?
To be quite frank, I like them all.
Well, yeah,
but
the Mexican-style lager named Loma Vita.
Yeah, that one's not like 10%, so you can have a couple of those and drive home still.
I don't think you can say that. I have to run to the bathroom. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Hour 2 will kick off in about a minute and a half. What the fuck? Can't say it. Can't say it. You should Uber.
Yeah, of course.
That's not what you said.
If you can't, though.
Fucking Iowa, dude. What is the problem here? Get it together. Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020. Today is the day the NBA comes back with some scrimmages, also known as preseason games, if that's how you want to look at it, starting at 3 o'clock today when the Clippers and the Magic play on NBA TV. Woo! Welcome back, NBA. It should be a big lineup there. They got everything cooking in the bubble. We got a chance to see the court down in Orlando yesterday via Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated's Twitter post, and that thing is going to be awesome. I said this at the beginning of the show. The lighting for that, the camera angles that they're going to be allowed to have, the way it's built like a set. I mean, it is. I think it's potentially going to be great coverage, and the fact that it's a playoff run here should be great basketball. Preseason games in the NFL have been canceled for the year 2020. No. Damn. In the 101st NFL season, there will be no preseason games. Oh, damn it. Somebody say, damn it, back there? It is frustrating, isn't it?
It is.
Is that you, Foxy? You said, damn it?
No, I didn't. But I didn't realize how big of a deal this was to the players. Like, that's just a basic-ass fan saying that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, in Detroit, you guys probably go undefeated in preseason.
We actually do. We went 4-0 and then went 0-16, so preseason's pretty awesome.
Well, that is...
That's serious, too.
So, preseason, we talked about this in the first hour, and I guess we could dive back into it, but preseason is something that any player who has made any money in the NFL or played for more than a year in the NFL and already has film of them playing in the NFL absolutely hates. You're making no money. It is a risk of injury. It's a waste of time. So players don't like it, okay? And it's not just about money. It's love of the game. But if you love the preseason game and you tear your ACL, do you still love the regular season as much if you can't play in it? There's just a lot of things that potentially make you go, oh, we hate preseason games. And there are a couple people who do get screwed by this entire thing. And we talked about this in the first hour. Younger players who have never been on the field in the NFL and have no NFL film, they have no chance to potentially earn a job on another team, right? Because everybody thinks preseason games are to prove whether or not they should make the team that they're currently on in the third or fourth quarter. But usually that is much better film for other teams to watch or the team you're playing against to watch to see if you could fit on their team. Because a lot of players, believe it or not, especially in that bottom quarter of the roster, bottom third of the roster, they don't get a position on the roster strictly because of a numbers game. You'll hear a lot of players and coaches say, hey, we had to get rid of blah, blah, blah because we had to bring in another offensive lineman. We had to get rid of blah, blah, blah because we had to bring in another tight end because old buddy hurt himself in practice yesterday and we need bodies for this. Like that happens on a very regular basis. And with those guys not having film in the preseason game, getting a chance to just showcase that you can either keep up with other people that are potentially going to be in the NFL in those preseason game in fourth quarter, you can pick up NFL defense, you can pick up an NFL offense. That film is vital. So for those guys, they're definitely in a bad position here, but I'd say they're also in a bad position because there was no OTAs, there was no rookie minicamp, there was no anything. So it's just COVID-19 came through for the bottom third of the roster and hit them with an elbow drop like Macho Man Randy Savage. But for everybody else that is in the NFL, even coaches, I think coaches just love coaching. They love teaching. If you have a good coach, they just love getting people better. That's why these OTAs have probably been an insane time for coaches because all they want to do is just get out there and work and work and work. But ask those coaches during a preseason game when one of their studs, who's probably going to allow them to either keep their job another year or their position group be good for another year or potentially get their team to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl, and they lose a guy in the first preseason game or second preseason game, how they feel about preseason games at that moment. And I would say everybody in the franchise will go, these preseason games are stupid, and it happens. This isn't something that doesn't happen, by the way. This happens, and it's not always star players that happens because they protect them a lot and get them off the field. But whenever you're talking about like the middle of the roster or like the maybe 2/3 up on the roster, that middle area there, guys go down all the time. Careers are changed. Lives are changed, impacted, strictly because of a game that means nothing, that nobody's making any money to play. And it's just almost to a point where a lot of players are like, this is stupid. But for those young guys, they are screwed without the opportunity to get a spotlight on their game for other NFL teams to see and go, oh, that person's pretty good. Now there's no XFL either. There's no AAFL, CFL. I think they are still a thing, although Edmonton, I believe, had to change their name because they were originally the E-words. Yep. I think they should change the Inuits, by the way, which is the proper term that I've been using for the last 10 years. As soon as I heard that, I was like, better word than The E word.
Yeah.
Much.
Inuit's a better word to say, so I just dropped that one in there. Just keep it moving. But they are in the middle of a name change as well. So the CFL does exist and will survive this. But that's really the only other game in town other than college football, which we know is probably going to get moved to maybe not this year.
No, 2022.
Have they mentioned?
Whoa.
Connor.
What?
Maybe because, man,
Yes.
you've been saying this for a long time, by the way. You now, when people look at your face, especially right now, where you go, you can't take anything that guy says seriously. But like, he has been on that 2022 train for college football for a while now, and the reason is, and I think it's becoming more and more obvious, these aren't football people or sports people making this decision. It has to be for the well-being in the decision makers' eyes for the entire campus, which is students from international students. You got 30,000, 40,000 people there that live there. Those decisions on whether or not a season happens are going to be on them. And will that be fixed? If it's not this year, will that be fixed next year? Do we know? We have no idea. Nobody knows. But you know who potentially does know, maybe? And I don't know if he's throwing an opening pitch this tonight or tomorrow night. So he's got to feel pretty good about sports. Maybe he's coming back. What's up, Tom?
Have they mentioned, do you know, if they're going to expand practice squads, whether it be for injuries or COVID, because I assume a lot of these guys aren't going to make a team now?
I believe, and this is just my brain operating on what it maybe had read one time, they're going to expand the active roster, but they have, by a few players, but they have lowered the amount of players that go to training camp, which is interesting. Because I would assume that you would want to bring in more people because you don't know who's going to get sick and you want to have more people on contract. But then if you think about what the rules were living in, more people's not good. So they actually had to get rid of like 10. I don't know if it's 93 players are normally there or 90 players are there. I don't know the exact amount. Now it's 80. It's capped at 80. So it's definitely less than what it has been. There's only one cut period. And all the film is going to be in-house now with preseason. So if you want to see or hear about how another guy is doing, or you're going to see a lot of the coaching staffs that have good relationships with each other, you're going to see a lot of moves via those teams. Not that you don't normally, but that's going to be, you're going to have to rely on people giving you good intel on players that they're not going to keep, that you could potentially want to keep, because you're going to be the only people that have seen practices because they're closed to the public. Coaches are going to be the only people that have seen practices, maybe scouts if you're friends with somebody from somewhere else. But the intel on those younger players, those guys who have never been on the field or on film in the NFL, the intel on them is going to be interesting on how it gets shared. I don't know how that's going to get shared, because you're going to go to Belichick and say, hey, you need to share your practice film with the rest of the NFL. And it's only on the bottom third of your roster we have to see. And Bill Belichick, we got some film we're going to send you. It's just going to be field goal session probably. Here you go. This is what we've been working on. I don't know how they're going to do that. I honestly have no idea how they're going to do that. And how will workouts work? Like if we get to the season, 35, 40 guys are cut from each team. And they're like, well, Pat, there's 80 people and you need to get down to 55, or if they expand it to 60, that's only 20 people. It's like, no. You got to remember that normally you're not just competing against your own roster to make the team. And some of the young guys do that. They'll look around, they'll be like, okay, I got to outlast 12 guys to make this next cut. And it's like, no. You have to outlast these guys, and then you got to outlast the waiver wire as well that's somewhere else, and you don't even know a side swipe could happen. There's some teams that get down to like 35 players after training camp, and then they're just signing people. It's like when you're playing poker, and you got 5 cards, and you can discard, and you just put all 5 down, give me 5 new ones. Like sometimes that happens for some training camp teams where they cut down to like 40. They're like, all right, we need to pick up at least 13 people off the waiver wire here. And the people that are in that team that do that, they have no idea. They're like, oh, I'm at least in the top 50 here. It's like, well, are you just top 50 here? But what about the other 31 teams as well? How will that information happen? Will they be just try out guys? If you sign them off the waiver, though, you have to have them at least on your team for 5 games, I believe. They're going to have to figure that all out. That is going to have to get figured out through the logistics process of bringing in players to work out if you sign them or don't sign them, how many people can come in. Those are the things on the day-to-day that the coaches, I would assume, and scouts are like, well, what the hell do we do here? We watch their Instagrams? Is that what we're just watching Instagrams at this point? That'll be interesting to see how the big brains at the NFL figure that out.
Gambling question for you, because you always say that when you guys would go to camp, the defense would dominate the first few days.
Yeah.
Do you and then I always agree with that, but then Rex said if these teams don't tackle, it's going to be embarrassing week 1. So week 1, are we going unders or overs?
Well, I think we're going overs. And the reason why the defense dominates is because you don't tackle for the first couple weeks in practice. So it's just see ball, get ball. Offense timing is off. Usually players don't know where the hell they're going. And whenever you have your fans at your first couple practices in preseason, they just watch like the defense just smother the offense. It's always I don't want to say it's always, because when we had Peyton and that offense was the same exact offense every single year for like 10 years, there was times where they would just come out and day one, it was just like pum, 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 and the crowd's going crazy. And me and Vinny are on the sideline like, so are we going to have 100 to 100 games? Like, what is going on here? But then the defense would catch up. But normally, if it isn't like, for instance, the Chiefs, quite a head start here. The Saints, quite a head start. Tampa, I don't know where they'll be. A lot of vets, a lot of talented people, but they haven't been together, so who knows? Normally, though, if it's an offense that has some new pieces and have to do that, start out real slow. Timing's terrible. And every single year, because I am a recency bias person, I'm like, a lot of punts this year, bro. I need to go hit the Stairmaster. I am not in good enough shape to do what we are about to do, I think, because there were some practices where I don't even think we got a first down. Like, first team, second team, third team didn't even get a first down. It's like, oh, Longy, we are going to stink this year, huh? And then everybody always tells me, like, yo, come on. See ball, get ball verse, learning an entire new offensive system. Give us a couple weeks here at least before you start expecting to potentially blow your leg out. And I'm like, all right. And then it always happens. It always happens. The offense starts getting better and better and better as you go. But if there's tackling, it's a whole different ballgame, because once the first time you get back to tackling, it is like a whole new world for you, because it's physical, you got to be tactical, you got to be cerebral, and you have to be aggressive when you do it. Some guys don't love it, and a lot of times you can't do it in practice because you only have a certain amount of padded practices, and if you hurt somebody in practice, tackling them in practice, you're probably a coach that's going to get fired. Like, that is just something that happens. So you're always kind of like a catch-22. Like, do we practice the tackling, or do we roll the dice and expect them to know that they're tackling? And I think every single time that people roll the dice and expect them to know how to tackle, normally you hear a commentator go, a lot of missed tackles here early. It's because guys haven't done it in a while. So I think what Rex was alluding to, and I think what I learned about Rex as a coach, he has full go in more than a few periods. But it's all a coach's decision on how healthy, how much banging do you want your team to do with it. There's going to be a lot of balancing here in this entire thing.
Yeah, because you could do thud practices, but that's nowhere near the same as what you're going to see live.
By the way, and thud in college is different than thud in the NFL. So thud, for those that don't know, there's like different padding too. So you go full pads, which is you have your pants on basically. Then there's shells, which is basically just your shoulder pads and your helmet. It's all your upper body stuff. And then there's like skelly stuff, which is just like little pad. You see it in like, it's for walkthroughs, but there's still a little bit of banging you can put your hands on. And then there's obviously just like t-shirts and jerseys or whatever. But the shells are the favorite by everybody because you don't have to put the pants on, which are incredibly tight. You have shorts on and you get to hit a little bit. Normally that is a thud phase, right? So thud is you thud them up. So it's just like a shot. And in college, you thud them up, whistle blows, right? In the NFL, though, you thud them up and then you let them go, let them finish the run, right? So it's like a very different thing. In learning the different levels of physicality for the practice sessions and the periods is a massive thing for the young players, which is also something that I think they missed out on OTAs and learning about, because if you can't practice, you will literally not make a team. If you are a liability in practice because you either fall down, you tackle people, you get people's feet tangled up, you get too close to the quarterback, you will lose a job. Like, it isn't just like, hey, we need you to not fall down whenever you're in there. It's like, yo, you do that again, like, you'll be gone, because that offensive lineman that we put $30 million into, if he rolls his ankle on you in there, that we can't have that. So like, learning how to practice is a very big deal. And I think thud will probably be the case, but thud isn't tackling either, because you can't. It's just like one big thud up, you know? There were some guys, though, that used to just go. LaRon Landry, it was full every single period. That was very interesting. Even walkthrough, he was going 40 miles an hour. He was thudding people. That was the transition process of getting from when LaRon started with us to when he was like, I think people were like feeling okay to be on the same practice field as him, did take a couple weeks, because he was going ham. I mean, it was the walkthrough. He was going full speed. I think he hit one of our big name receivers like in the air during a walkthrough. Like, there was some real stuff popping off in conversations. I was like, well, I'm not going to practice with that guy on the field. I'm not going to do it. And it's like, so you get to that point where you got to trust each other, you got to respect each other. But that's what the young guys also have to learn how to do. Training camp is an insane time to try to make an NFL team. There's only 53 spots unless they expand it, which I think they might, a couple spots. Only 32 teams. And like they always say, you get to be here. You don't have to be here. It's a privilege, not a right. And there are literally 4,000 people ready to take your job at any time. Like actually 4,000 people. And they're tweeting about it. They're posting on Instagram about it. We know exactly who they are. We're actually going to have them work out. You're going to have to watch them work out. Those guys want your job. So you either figure this out or you get the hell on. And that's business, baby. 14 minutes after the hour, we got to get to a break. We have Brian Urlacher, Chicago and NFL legend, joining us in about 15 minutes. He was allegedly a part of an investment group that is trying to buy the New York Mets. Kevin Garnett trying to buy the Timberwolves.
Yes.
We'll talk about that on the other side. A lot of big business going on right now, let alone the fact that a guy made $13 billion in one day the other day. Ex-wife made $4.1 billion that day.
Not bad.
He could have bought 3 sports franchises in his one-day earnings. Jeff Bezos. Started in his basement.
Where are the checks and balances?
Bro, $13 billion in one day.
You think he's looking at Minnesota?
Unbelievable.
He could. He could look at the entire state of Minnesota. Yeah. he could look at. He could do whatever he wanted right now, just in one day.
They said if he liquidated all of his money, he could keep the U.S. government open for about 3 weeks.
Which is also insane that the U.S. government costs them. I mean,
That's the more.
this is the Pat McAfee Show, Wednesday, July 22nd. Big business show. Big business.
For 15 seconds before I hit the anvil. I've been trying to time myself out for 15 seconds. I've never spoken for 15 seconds before. There's no chance. It's a new era for college football. All right, let's go. You're all badasses. Thank you all for your service. Have an incredible day out there. It's the safest place in America right now. Holy hell. All right, everybody smile. You're probably not supposed to. Hey, safe travels. We appreciate the hell out of all of you. Go kick ass. Hooah! Hey, the best game in the history of the drumline is going to be today. You guys are going to steal the show and set that. How's it going? My name's Pat. I swing a big hammer, and when I talk, people listen. A long fucking day. So I had to switch it to damn. When I get going like that, it really catches. Hey, big cold swing today, huh? Another week about to start, Foxy. Triple H texted me, said he enjoyed it. Nice. He said if anybody's making fun of you for the size of your hammer, just tell them it's not the size, it's how you swing it.
Here's the thing about home security companies. Most trap you with high prices, tricky contracts, and lousy customer support. So while there are a lot of options out there, there's only one no-brainer, and that's SimpliSafe. SimpliSafe's got everything you need to protect your home with none of the drawbacks of traditional home security. It's got an arsenal of sensors and cameras to blanket every room, window, and door tailored specifically for your home. Professional monitoring keeps watch day and night, ready to send police, fire, and medical professionals if there's an emergency. You can set it up yourself in under an hour. Just peel and stick the sensors exactly where you need them. No technician required, and there's no contract, no pushy sales guys, no hidden fees, no fine print. All this starts at $15 a month. I'm not the only one who thinks SimpliSafe is great. U.S. News & World Report named it the best overall home security of 2020. Try SimpliSafe today at simplisafe.com/Pat. You get free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. There's nothing to lose. That's simplisafe.com/Pat.
Shout out to simplisafe.com. Internet detectives. Okay, the internet gets bashed on a lot, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Too much.
The internet takes a lot of heat. We are very proud to be an internet show here. We are internet people, I believe. And the internet, definitely has its drawbacks. Let's not, it gives platforms to some very terrible people. It gives some people whose opinions shouldn't be heard a place to state their opinions, and people are forced to hear it. There is a lot of drawbacks on the internet, but I believe the positives of the internet, if you look for them as opposed to looking for the negative, far outweigh the negative on the internet. The amount of things that have been invented and the connections that were made in the world that's got made smaller and the interactions that people have had that made, their life change. I think the internet has a lot more positive than negative. And I would like to say that internet detectives are some of the positive stuff whenever they do good, for the world. Now, granted, I can see how I don't want to say the olds because that's generalizing, but you understand what I'm saying whenever I say that, can hate the internet because, just completely cocking their entire operation on a very regular basis for free with very limited resources and everything like that. The internet has struck again. It is alleged user Static Rush on Reddit has discovered that on July 15th, 2020, the same company that registers and manages Redskins.com registered a new domain, DCSentinels.com.
Oh, let's go.
So, Static Rush on Reddit, who is an internet detective, it feels like, and did a little snooping around, believes and is reporting that DC Sentinels seems to be the leader in the clubhouse for the new Washington football team name TBDs as their name. Now, would it be incredibly clever of the Washington football team name TBDs to do this, to give a red heron?
Red herring.
A red herring where you send out like a fake. This is like, now, obviously we don't know what's going on between them now, but I've told this story numerous times. Kanye and Kim, they had their circle of friends whenever she was pregnant for the first time, and they gave out different names to each friend in the group. And then whatever name made it to the tabloids, they went ahead and took that person and said, get the hell out of here. Okay. How do you find a hole? How do you find a snitch? You go ahead and leak something to them and see if it gets out. Maybe the Washington football team named TBDs are one step ahead of everybody, and they're going to start doing this for the lot of you. I don't want to hop on the fact that they're definitely going to be the DC Sentinels yet, although we don't mind the name. We don't mind the name at all. We like that they went with DC instead of Washington, because to explain to somebody that isn't a football fan that the Washington team actually isn't in the state of Washington, it is in DC, it is a lot easier thing. And DC is kind of cool. District of Columbia, here we are, not a state, but we kind of do things, a lot of things. And the Sentinels, obviously, The Replacement's one of the greatest football movies of all time.
Yes.
Here we go. I wouldn't have mind because it's in that area, Virginia over there, DMV. Remember the Titans if they were the DC Titans, but the Tennessee Titans is already taken.
Yeah.
If we're going to go with another legendary football movie, The Replacements, I don't mind them sliding into DC Sentinels here, but we can't say this 100% true because the Washington football team named TBDs could be playing a little bit of a game here. And we don't know if Shane Falco's going to be playing. We think Dwayne Haskins will be, but DC Sentinels seems like a name that they could run with, and I think people would enjoy.
And it would be awesome if Rivera had to wear a suit every game with a top hat. The
Replacements, they made some good decisions over there at Washington Sentinels.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Think about living on a boathouse and starting QB.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That'd be a different animal.
Grit.
Yeah.
Throw Dewey out there.
Yeah. DC Sentinels, not a bad name. Not a bad name at all. I don't know if they go with it. And if you're thinking about going with it, you have to get the website immediately.
Correct, yeah.
So if it even pops up in conversation, if I'm talking to anybody in the Washington football team named TBD's organization right now, like every idea that you think could potentially be, you should be buying up everything you could possibly get around it, including, merch, trademarks, and everything like that, which is what they have to do, which is why whenever this happened on July 10th, we found it all very interesting. If they're going to be able to change an entire franchise name, building, merch, uniforms, everything in 18 days. And then also on top of that, by the way, your toxic culture is also going to get exposed in the middle of it. If they turn their entire culture around to not sexually harass people anymore, and they change their name, I think Coach Ron Rivera deserves at least, 70% of that team if he is able to go in there in 1 year and get it all fixed.
Are we out on the Red Wolves or Red Tails, or what do we think?
I don't know if the Red Wolves was quite a name, by the way. Just the whole thought of. I mean, it kind of sounds like, maybe a little bit of an Arena League team or something like that.
I was going to say, that's just not an NFL team name.
I've also never seen a wolf.
Be red?
Or in the D.C. area.
Yeah, I think everybody just wants it to be a den so they can howl.
That would, it's great.
By the way, because we do have to think about tradition as well. What chants, what songs, and the Red Wolves would have a rather cool one. Every kickoff, how some places have keys that they bring out. Imagine that entire place right before kickoff just howl.
Massive red moon on the Jumbotron.
Cool. Well, now it's the house that Falco built.
Hell yeah.
I like that, too.
Shane Falco laid it all on the line every single game.
So did Utah.
Nigel Guinness.
Nigel Gruff.
They're going to have to sign Flacco and then have him change his name.
I was compared to that replacement kicker, I think, every day of my life probably. There for a long time. And also the, what was that other one? Blue Mountain State. That could have potentially been about our West Virginia team. I have not gotten, nobody has given me reassurance that it wasn't about our West Virginia team. It'd make a lot more sense if it was. Let's talk about the NFL. Let's talk about NFL legends. Let's talk about somebody who was bald, now has an incredible head of hair. He's on 4,000 billboards. He was a punt returner in college, and he became one of the most hellacious linebackers in NFL history, ladies and gentlemen, from New Mexico State, Brian Urlacher.
Yeah, Brian!
Dude, you just said New Mexico State, Pat.
Oh, it's not New Mexico State. It's New Mexico.
It's just New Mexico.
Well, I'm happy you didn't hang up. That is.
Wow. Well, I'm not on here for long. Wow. Come on, Pat. Dang.
That's 100% on me. New Mexico gets no love either. So here's me trying to give love to New Mexico, and instead I give it to the wrong.
You don't, and you just smack me in the face, basically.
No, I would never do that to you, Brian. I would never smack you in the face. I would never.
No, but you just did, though.
No. It was somebody else. It wasn't me.
It's okay, man. It happens to me all the time. People give no respect to my alma mater, the University of New Mexico.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. We've been talking about TUNM all week. You know what I mean? The University of New Mexico. We've talked about the.
That's right.
Yeah, the University of New Mexico. They created not only a man who was a safety, punt returner, freak athlete that became one of the greatest middle linebackers in the history of the sport, but they also created what seems to be an incredible businessman. Just a couple of weeks ago, it came out that you were potentially a part of the investment group that's buying the Mets. Is that an accurate statement?
I know a bunch of really cool people. I'll tell you that much. Are really smart and rich people. How about that? I know Mike Rapoli pretty well. Mike used to own Vitamin Water back in the day, and I was a part of Vitamin Water. My financial advisor is really intertwined with Rapoli, Vinny Viola, and he knows Alex and Jennifer as well. So I was fortunate to be under his tutelage for all this stuff.
You were in on Vitamin Water with 50 Cent back in the day? You guys had a Vitamin Water. Try it! That thing went for $200 million or something, didn't it?
$4 billion they sold for.
Oh, shoot.
You're living good.
200. Well, no, I wasn't an owner. I was like a guy. They put them on commercials and stuff. No, I wasn't an owner. Come on, don't start putting me up there with all these other people. I was an owner. I was an endorser. How about that?
Okay, how about this hair company in Chicago? Because we drove through Chicago.
Wow! I had to get up, took my son to football practice, came back and did this for you. So I haven't really brushed it yet. But it's there, man. It's crazy.
It is. Are you a part owner of that company or what? Or just endorser?
Yeah, Restore. Yeah, so it's called Restore, man. I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, they came at me and were like, hey, would you like to get your hair done? I was like, no, I like being bald. That's my look, And they're like, well, if you get the procedure done, it's not that big of a deal. You don't have any scars. If you don't like it, you can still shave your head. I was like, I'll try it. Of course, I get the procedure done. I'm like, My wife's like, "You look pretty good." My kids are like, "Yeah, it's not bad." I was driving through a Chick-fil-A drive-through one day, and the girl was like, "You look really young." I was like, "Oh, I'm keeping it." But they're awesome, man. It's amazing to me how many people care about their hair, because I never really cared until I got mine done. But it's pretty crazy how many men care about losing their hair, and if their hair thins, they don't like that.
It's a lot. By the way, there's like 7 in our office right now that I believe every time we drive by the billboard with your head on there, everybody's like, need to get that done stat. It's not that bad of a process, huh?
No, you have a nice head of hair, by the way, Pat. You got some sweet locks up there, bro.
Thank you.
Just checking that out, man. Wow.
Hey, look at the fade, too. Hey.
I know you got a nice tight fade going on the side. So before I didn't have hair, and now I have it, but I used to have the nice little tight fade, too, on the side. But my hair, like, on top was like, can you see, was like this long, 9 inches.
Like Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar up there. You had that Brock Lesnar cut.
His might have been longer than mine, actually. Mine was super short, man. Because it was, on the front there, it was kind of, I had the divots going already when I was young. So I got, you don't have, yours is good, man.
I know, but they always say like your mom's dad's the hair, which doesn't make sense because then brothers would always have the same hair. But I do.
Dude, my grandpa had a full head of hair, and I got nothing.
When'd you go bald?
On my mom's side.
When'd you go bald?
Why'd I go bald?
When?
Oh, so I was like, I didn't have any hair. Probably about 22 or 23, I started getting those divots, and then, you get made fun enough in the locker room, you just let it go. Yeah. So I started shaving my head. It was much easier that way.
Now, can we talk about the transition from being the best athlete on the field at a smaller position to being the best athlete on the field at a linebacker position? Now, I'm sure you've answered this question 1,000 times, but with the way football is right now, speed at the linebacker position as opposed to back when you were playing when it was a big ground and pound, I feel like now would have been a time where you potentially, not that you obviously one of the greatest of all time, but I feel like now the game is more set up for what you would have really captured it. Is that wrong in thinking that?
They throw the ball so much now. Everything is geared toward throwing the ball over the field. It's just a different. I don't feel like the running game is a big deal anymore. It is obviously, but you can get the same thing out of the running game as those short passes. And teams are utilizing that. But the linebackers, I feel like they're smaller now. They're faster. I was fortunate because I was bigger and I could run. It's just. And now all the guys are fast. All you guys, they're 6'1", 6 feet, 220, 225. I played at 255 my last 5 years, so I'll still be bigger, but I still could run for a while there in the middle of my career. I could still run a little bit. So if you could move and cover some ground in this league, and the thing that helped me in pass coverage was my height. I was tall in the middle of the field, so in cover 2, they had to elevate the ball, which helped the safeties converge on some of those deep passes. But my height and my speed, I was fortunate to be able to have both.
You're a freak athlete, obviously.
You
still are. You still are from the University of New Mexico. No. Really? You don't do anything anymore. You just kind of sit around.
Oh yeah, I do. All I do is ride my mountain bike, and I ride my road bike. And I played softball a couple years ago in this little league out here in Arizona. Popped my hamstring running to first base. But I was safe.
Way to go.
I just don't want to. I'm worried about popping an Achilles or something. I'm just so nervous that I'm 42 now, so I just don't want to get hurt. I want to be able to ride my bike and not get fat and eat whatever I want to, and that's it. And hang out with my kids.
I don't think you're ever going to get fat. I believe that's probably an Urlacher trait, but I like the fact that you're trying to.
I like food a lot.
Me too, man.
So the more I eat, the more I ride my bike. That's all there is to it.
Did you see T.O. at 46 run a 4.4 yesterday against Tyreek Hill?
Was that at the combine? What was that? Was that official 4.4? Who read that cross?
I asked that same question. I watched the video. There's one guy who has a stopwatch, okay? And he goes, Tyreek just ran a 4.37, and then he said T.O. was in the 4.4 range or whatever. And it was like, then the headlines were like, okay, T.O. stayed with Tyreek Hill, though, by the way, which is still insane to think of. But, yeah, that guy right back
5 yards behind him.
Yeah, but it's still, 40-yard race, I guess 5 yards isn't that close. He's in the same shot, though. And that one guy, you're going to see him, he came up, he got it with his hand, and we know he has a trusted timer. That guy in the back right there.
Gotcha. Okay. Look at his body. He looks the same as he has his whole career. What's Terrell been retired for 8-9 years now?
Yeah.
Looks the same.
Who's somebody you played against that you were like, hey, this person might give me a problem athletically, or did that never happen?
No, obviously it happened. There's some great players in the NFL. You look at, I think the guys I matched up with were tight ends and running backs for the most part, but Gronkowski when he came in the league, but luckily he was in the AFC. You know, big guy, 6'6", 2, whatever he was.
Hey, what
AFC,
makes him so good? Because he got rated a 95 on Madden after retiring for a year, and everybody lost their mind. They were like, this guy, but when he came on the field, he was a game changer, right? He's
95 right now or 95 back in the day?
Right now, he's a 95. He's more than Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Oh, whoa. Hey, obviously, you don't think that's good.
I don't play Madden. I don't really. My son plays it. Him and my daughter tell me the ratings and the scores and all this junk, how it works. I don't really understand it. But, wow, that seems pretty high for a guy who took it. Maybe they're expecting him to be more healthy and faster because he took a year off.
What makes him so dominant, though?
Just his size, his catch radius. He's strong as hell. And I think the thing I like about him is he loves football. The dude gets out there, you can see how much he loves the game of football when he's on the field. He's having a good time. But just his catch radius, his strength, and it's amazing how good the catches he makes, like down to his ankles or wherever the ball. He catches everything. It's unreal to me how good his hands are. He doesn't look like a guy to have great hands, but he has tremendous hands.
He's like a nimble Clydesdale. It makes no sense.
Yeah, he is. Jimmy Graham was for a while there was tough as well, NFC guy. But there was never a time where I was like, oh man, I'm really outmatched here. I better get some help because if you think that way, you're probably beat from the beginning.
Yeah, I agree. I would think that every time I lined up against somebody, and that's probably why I was a middle linebacker. You know what I mean?
Well, you're a great punter and kickoff guy. Look at you. You're the best ever.
The University of New Mexico legend.
The University.
Yeah, that's all right. I didn't put that on there.
And look at you now. Look how big. I always see like your Insta chat stuff. Like your arms are all big.
Yeah, come on.
You're hitting the golf ball with no shoes on, 379 yards.
Hey, I look pretty good right now. I honestly do. It's unbelievable. It makes no sense.
I agree. And you got the holy shorts on, so you fit in with everybody like the kids. It's nice. The holy jeans short. Everyone's wearing the holy jeans shorts now. It's cool.
Yeah, fashion. Okay, fashion. Or like the.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, my son started wearing those. My son's 15 now. He's wearing the. He's got to be like everybody else and wear the cool stuff now.
Well, I'm happy one person in the family's got a little fashion sense. For
sure.
Chicago Bears, team you love, obviously. Team that I think you've rekindled with, which is good news and everything. I don't know if there was ever a beef or anything like that, but they are in the middle of an interesting situation right now, right? Going into what is a prove-it year for a lot of people. I think it's a prove-it year for Nagy. I think it's a prove-it year for potentially Mitchell Trubisky and maybe even Pace. I mean, there's a potential full operation happening there. Just 2 years ago, one of the best teams in the NFC. Last year, obviously problematic. What are your thoughts going into, obviously, the drama around a quarterback battle, which I've never seen before? I've never seen like two legit starters before have to battle in camp. How do you feel about going into the Bears season? What are your thoughts on it?
I was confused. So, after season or a month after season, Pace was like, Mitchell's our guy. He's our guy. We drafted number 2 overall. We're going to ride with him. We took a step back last season, blah, blah, blah. But he's our guy. Then like 3 weeks later, they went and they traded for Foles. I was like, what the hell? I thought maybe they're just going to have a really high price backup is what I thought. They're just going to have a guy just in case Mitchell gets hurt or something doesn't work out. We're going to have super high price backup. And now they're saying that they're both going to battle for the job. I get it. Nick Foles has some good credentials. He came as a good backup there for Philly that 1 year. But I don't know. Their defense is good every single year. Every year. Their defense, you got Khalil, obviously. They got some Hakeem Hicks, Eddie Jackson back there, Kyle Fuller, big name players. I don't understand the trade for Nick Foles. I like the guy. Nothing against him, nothing whatsoever. If you talk about keeping a guy quarterback after you traded up to get him at number 2, probably didn't have to, but you did, and then you trade for a guy. It was confusing to me. And Ryan Pace is a smart guy. Don't get me wrong. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's done. I know Foles played in Kansas City under Coach Nagy, so I get that as well. So I think if you're going to say you're going to stick with a guy, stick with him.
Listen, I don't know your relationship with Mitch. I don't know Mitch that well. He obviously did not play well last year, but to bring in a high-priced guy like that and then say it's an open competition, the state of mind that Trubisky has to be in is so I couldn't even fathom. In the locker room as well now. So now the locker room's in a situation where I brought this up to the boys earlier, and they found it fascinating. Like the defense, okay? Let's say there's some corners that are boys with Mitchell Trubisky, okay? And they accidentally make or slip or something on a Foles play in practice. There's a lot of things that are going to go into this entire there is a lot of feelings that are going to go into not knowing your quarterback's a big deal. That is a big deal, I think, in the NFL that is not being talked about.
All that stuff you just said, I don't think about that stuff.
Okay, good.
I think Mitch, his mindset is going to be, I'm the guy. I think that just after talking to him and seeing his interviews and what he's done his whole career, he's confident in himself. He believes in his ability. 2 years ago, he had a great season.
Great.
They ran the ball well. Last year, took a step back, but I don't think that's all his fault. Their offensive line was banged up. Name one of his receivers besides Allen Robinson that did something. He had no tight ends. They have their running back, Montgomery, I really like. I think he'll be better this year. He'll get some more carries. But if they're healthy up front, I think it's going to help everyone, not just him. If Foles is the guy, Foles will be better as well. But if they stay healthy up front, that's where it starts for me on the offensive side of the football.
You like Trubisky a lot, huh?
I do. Not so much for what he's done on the field, just the way he handles himself, man. I played for 21 different quarterbacks in Chicago. What? Yeah. 21 different starting quarterbacks in my 13 years in Chicago. So when you have a guy who walks to the mic after a game when they win, and all he talks about is the offensive line, the defense, the coaching, the running backs, the receivers, I respect it. When he walks to the mic after they lose and says, I have to play better. I didn't do a good enough job. Never says anyone else has always his fault when they lose. I respect the shit out of that. So when a guy does that, I have a lot of respect for him. So it's hard for me to just give up on him because of one bad season.
I respect that a lot.
Ryan, I just wanted to hear your opinion on a guy that you played against a lot in Aaron Rodgers. Can you believe that the Green Bay Packers,
are forcing him out right now? They're just forcing him out. Hey, get the hell out of here, Aaron.
Yeah.
Don't care about you.
Give him the boot. Dude, when I saw that draft pick, nice quad. You got some big quads too.
Thank you.
Obviously.
Dang it.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Aaron. I was shocked at that draft pick. But you look at, they did the same thing to Brett. They drafted Aaron in the first round. Brett still played 3 more years before Aaron got in there. So and it's worked out for Aaron pretty well. So what is he, 36, 37 now?
Yeah, 36.
He's getting up. Doesn't look like he's slowing down though. To me, I mean, he still gets it done. He still puts the ball on. The thing that's amazing about Aaron to me, he doesn't turn the football over. He gets all the pressure. He doesn't have he has good receivers. Don't get me wrong. He has Devontae and a couple other guys. But you look at every year, it's usually all on him. He does not turn the football over, doesn't make bad decisions.
What are your thoughts on, obviously in Chicago, this is a little bit of a sore subject, but Patrick Mahomes just signs for $500 million. That Chiefs
deserved it.
I agree, 100%. This is a baseball contract for the first time in the NFL.
The dude I like seeing guys that get paid who deserve the money, and that dude earned it, deserves it. He is a badass. I'm a huge fan of his.
That offense seems unstoppable. I mean, granted, they struggled early. They struggled early against a couple teams, and there was a lot of people. We talked to Rex Ryan yesterday about it, and I said, "How do you stop that Chiefs offense?" And he said, "Well, if I'm a coordinator, I'm thinking about potentially playing sick like that week. I'm potentially trying to get out of it." But a lot of people started chiming in because the Colts beat them last year, and other teams beat them last year. But that was the beginning of the season, and Patrick Mahomes even came out and said, "Like, I didn't even understand what a defense was doing until about halfway through the season last year." They're only going to get better. That when you have when you have that many weapons, what the hell do you do, Brian? And
so I know what we would do on defense, just play cover 2. That's all we did. You know, when we had a good offense like that, Peyton or Tom Brady or Drew Brees, Aaron, we play cover 2, and we would give up 3, 4, 5 yards of pop, give up a check down every once in a while to his for a long run, but we just played like the bend but don't break. And when we had a chance to blitz, we would if we had a favorable down distance, but. Man, we just played cover 2, and for the most part, we were pretty successful doing that. We just didn't teams aren't patient enough to keep doing the dink and dunk. They get mad. They want to take a shot, and that's when they get to 2nd and 11, 3rd and 12, get them in a bad situation, and you get off the field. So I think we were very patient with our cover 2. We just kept playing it. I didn't always like it, but Lovey was always patient with us in calling cover 2, and we always got pressure with 4 guys. We didn't have to blitz to get pressure. We had good enough guys up front to get pressure with 4.
The Kansas City Chiefs offensive line is very good. They're going to have to keep them together.
Really good.
In 2 years, they got a lot of guys going up that are going to be a lot of money, and nobody knows how they have any of this money that they have that they're paying everybody. So that'll be something that Andy Reid and Veach will have to figure out. Cover 2, though, for people that don't understand, you're basically just keeping everything in front of you. Don't let anybody over top.
You got it, man. Just have your safeties play deep. Keep your middle linebacker down the middle of the field. And hopefully get pressure at 4, but keep everyone in front of you. If you have corners that can get your hand, like we had Charles Tillman, Tim Jennings, Nathan Basher. We had some good corners when I was there that could get their hands on the receivers. So we trusted them, and they also supported the run as well. That's what people don't give Charles Tillman credit for. That dude would come up and hit you in the running game as well.
Tim Jennings was a gunner for me at the Colts.
He was there with you, right?
Yeah, he was a gunner for us. And in practice, he was dominating a corner. They would never put him in. Then he goes to Chicago and makes like 3 Pro Bowls or whatever.
He had 10 picks one year.
Yes, I think he did.
if I was a receiver, I would hate that. He's so annoying. You know, he's only like 5'9", 5'10", Pat.
Yeah, great
and he
gunner,
just gets
too.
up in your grill. He's so feisty and mean, and just he was a really, really good corner for us for 4 or 5 years there. But he won the Super Bowl with you guys, right? Y'all beat us.
Yeah, before I got there. Thanks, man.
You weren't there that year? Was it Hunter Smith?
Yeah, it was Hunter the punter. He's a country musician now and a Super Bowl champion. Yeah.
You missed out. I'm sorry.
I did, yeah. We lost to Drew Brees, Urlacher. Nick has a question.
Ryan,
Okay, sorry. Now you want to change the subject.
Yeah.
Your misfortunes. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
Ryan, who was the hardest player you've ever faced to tackle, and why was it Jerome Bettis?
What do you say? Why did I get run over by Jerome Bettis?
No, that's not what he said. He did not slap you in the face like that. He did ask why Jerome Bettis was so hard to tackle, other than him being 290 pounds, I think, at one point.
Oh, I thought he said who was the hardest player you had to tackle.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Oh, Ricky Williams.
Wow.
So Ricky's 5'10", 240, runs a 4.3 or 4.4 40. I'm 6'4". I can't get under Ricky. So Ricky, to me, always was. He had I think 190 or 200 against us on Monday night in Miami. He had like 150 my rookie year when he was with the Saints. But he was, and I had some good games against him as well. But Ricky was a beast, man. He was, at that size and that speed and that weight, I wasn't gonna get under him. We had some good collisions, but his helmet always ended up right here under my chin. So I'm too tall, man. But Nick, Jerome, shit, what? Freaking 280, 275.
Nimble.
Go figure. That's why he's hard to tackle.
He won a Super Bowl, obviously, in his hometown there to send it out.
Last season.
Yeah, that's dream.
They beat us that year. So, they beat us in week like 11 or 12, and they never lost another game. They ran the table there from there out.
Well, the city of Pittsburgh thanks you then, for sure. I mean.
Oh, yeah. I got ran over that game by Jerome as well. Oh, there's a picture of me holding Jerome falling on my back. Guess what? He's not the only guy that ran me over.
You're gonna get got. You just got to get yours more than you get got. Though.
I tried to give out more than I took, but I got juked. I got ran over. I got a lot of bad things happen.
But whenever you're in the game, things like that are going to happen. Do you remember any positive things that you've done? Do you remember any big any collisions? For instance, I tackled Trenton Holiday on Sunday Night Football. I'm reminded of it every single day. That is a moment in football that I will obviously never forget. There's the photo of her.
Thank you. Is Nick the guy?
No, that's actually a kid from Chicago named Zito. He's the one that put that up there, and he's a Portillo's hoodie on right there. He loves you.
You're dead to me.
No.
I'm just kidding. We're not going to go there. But I do like that you're wearing Portillo's hoodie.
I think it means a lot.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know where.
Wow, you guys went crazy.
He's gonna retire,
dude. He loves the guy, bro. He loves you. He loves you.
I was just messing with you.
No.
I'm taking the grave.
No. He's dead to you. No, he's dead to you.
Never, Brian. Never.
I didn't know him in the first place.
All right. Well,
so now you can just go back to bed.
He was going to use your
standing up to show your shorts and how you have the cuts in them. Is that why you keep standing up, Pat?
No, I got ADD. Actually, when the show started, I had a mobile microphone back here.
Oh. Nice.
Heyo.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. You look like the dude from A Star Is Born.
Tell me something, girl.
I love that song.
It's a good song. Bradley Cooper wrote that. Son of a bitch is an actor, and all of a sudden comes out with a full album that's maybe the best
That's
album.
like one of my top 5 favorite movies. By the way, I like the Mr. T starter set, too. It looks good. Got the chain around the neck. Looks good.
And the watch. Look at this.
Wow. Look at you. You styling and profiling. What's that?
Limousine riding. Jet flying.
Jet flying.
Yeah. Son of a gun.
Sorry.
Yes. I don't have alligator shoes on, but we do have to get.
Not yet.
I got fat feet. I don't fit in those things.
You usually don't wear shoes anyway, do you? You're usually a no shoes guy.
Golfing, I'm a no shoes guy because I like to feel Mother Earth before I hack the shit out of her. You know what I mean?
What? You got a nice golf. You crush it, dude. Is that why you're so much bigger? Because you're trying to do a DeChambeau thing with the golf? Or
hey,
is that what you're doing?
Hey, any other sport, a lot of people would ask a lot of questions about what he did this offseason.
No comment. Oh, that's pretty good. You're right.
I mean, 40 pounds or something like that. He goes from 34 to 1.
You saw his diet, what he eats, and what he has to intake every day to keep his. Is he 250, 245?
Yeah, massive. 9 protein shakes a day. Did you have anything like that? Did you have any were you like a super strict dieter? Food.
Everything.
Everything.
Dr. Peppers.
Oh.
Big Macs. Chipotle. Chick-fil-A. Sonic. All that stuff. I love it.
During season, yeah, no problem. While you're
Oh, yeah. Well, during season, I was a little better. I would eat, Olive Garden and stuff like that. We ate 2 meals at the facility, so when I got a chance to eat other stuff, I enjoyed that opportunity.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
This guy's just a freak, 6'4", all over the place.
Beast.
Hold on. During season, you can eat that because you burn the calories. Now, Pat, I don't know. I don't quite eat the same as I used to.
Yeah, but you told us at the very beginning of this conversation you're literally trying to get fat right now.
I'm not trying to get fat. I'm trying to not get fat.
But you're trying to eat everything. That's why you get on the mountain bike. Got it.
Yeah, I'm trying to offset my eating with the mountain biking.
Are you in the desert?
Don't switch my words, dude. I am in the desert. We live in Arizona. We live right outside of Phoenix in Chandler.
Do you live near Cliff Kingsbury's house?
I don't know. Does he live in Arizona? Does he live here?
Did you see his
That's
house?
the head coach for the Cardinals?
Yeah.
I don't know where he lives.
His house on draft night, he's got a
I saw
drug
that
lord.
picture.
Yeah, you should try to find that house.
There's plenty of those houses out here. We live, who lives in my neighborhood is McNabb.
How is he? Good dude? I've never got to meet Donovan McNabb.
Yeah, he's good. I like him. I never see him, but I like him. He's always happy. I'll tell you that much. Guy's a happy-go-lucky dude. Always smiling. Got that deep voice. Always talking. He's a good dude.
So are you. Ladies and gentlemen,
thanks,
absolute legend. Great hair on the guy. Terrible fashion sense.
One more time. We'll get a messy hair out there.
Wow.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Urlacher. You're the best, dude. If you could tell Zito to go fuck himself again, we'd really appreciate that.
No, who's that? I don't even know who that is.
Oh,
let's go, baby. I don't know who you are.
Oh, jeez. That's great. That's even better.
I'm playing.
Okay.
I'm messing with you. You're my guy. Go Bears.
Oh, Bear Don.
Oh, jeez. Ladies and gentlemen,
Bye, Pat.
Brian Urlacher. See you, brother. What a legend. What an absolute legend.
Ultimate football guy, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. 6'4". Dude was a punt returner in college. And then became middle linebacker.
I forget how big he was.
Ran a 4.5.
Yeah.
Huge.
And with his pads on, too, it looked like he was like 6 inches taller.
And he's 255, he said, whenever he was playing. Guys are playing now at 230 or whatever. 255, 6'4", just stacked. We went right through a radio break there twice today, 3 times today, 4 times today. I feel very bad. We're back. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here. 52 minutes after hour 2 has started. The great Brian Urlacher joined us before we went to break there, and through the break, oh, wow. Zito just put up a picture on YouTube of him stiff-arming Aaron Rodgers, who he referred to as one of the greats, obviously. That was a cool conversation with Urlacher. Seems like I've never met him in person, but I can't wait to be around him. I assume it's going to happen at a golf event, and I think we're probably going to have 5 to 40 beers together.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he drinks beers. I do know that he eats the
assume
hell out
so.
of a lot of food. What a legend that guy is. And the hair looks good.
That does?
Yeah. Strong.
Legit looks good. And he kept it because somebody at a drive-thru said, hey, you look young. And he said, well, I'm hanging on to this hair forever. Zito, you think about getting that done? Is that what
I think so. I'm going to go to my boy, Brian Urlacher, for that.
Yeah, go to his company. 4 years ago, he invested in that. Good conversation, good chatter, a lot of football talk. I believe the show is wrapping up here on the radio end of this in a couple minutes, maybe a moment. Let's try to get a phone call. We got 1 minute. Let's go to David in New Jersey. David, quickly, we got about a minute here for radio to the heart out. What do you want to talk about, brother?
Thanks for taking me, Pat. Wanted to talk about the NBA returning today, which is very exciting for me, big NBA fan. I know the plan is for players' families to join the bubble around the first round of the playoffs, but that may not be till August 30th. Now,
I didn't know.
This may sound like a very dumb idea. Most of my ideas are.
No.
But do you think the NBA would ever create like a secondary bubble before then for like single guys?
Like a purgatory place for, I think what he was going to say for single guys to maybe potentially put a girlfriend or somebody like that in there. I mean, David, maybe. I mean, I'll be excited to see how that would. I was excited to see how that would pan out PR-wise for the NBA. I didn't know they were letting their families back in. That's awesome. Yeah, it's good news. The NBA does start today, 3 o'clock scrimmages. We'll be back manana to talk about it. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. We missed every break for radio today.
Hey, that's business, baby.
Every single one. That's bad business, I guess, in the radio department. But boy, so I do feel bad about that. Don had to do a lot of extra work. I did not know they were letting the players, families come and check in. I would assume the players got down there, and as they were experiencing things, they probably had a call with Adam Silver, and they're like, we think we could probably get a couple family members in here for at least a weekend or something like that. Have them go through the same test, have them go through the whole thing. If they don't pass, get them out of there. That seems like a good idea. And by the way, that's how, situations like this work. Whenever people say, we think this could happen, let's go ahead and make this work. Let's go ahead and try to make this as good as possible. The NBA has handled this beautifully.
Yeah, there's an article here on May 27th that they were deep into talks once the playoffs start. So the teams that aren't in the playoffs are gone and there's more room in the bubble, that a limited number of family members would be able to potentially join the players.
And we have not heard that since then, though, right? May 27th.
No, hasn't been talked about.
So that might have got tabled. But I would assume if the guys are down there and they think there's a chance that their family could come there, they're probably pitching that as an idea, like, hey, let's go ahead and do this. Let's get to these phone calls. These guys have been waiting around. Let's go to Ken in Canada. Ken in Canada, are you in Edmonton? And is it a dump like our Canadian friend Gumpy says?
Listen, I gotta tell you, man. I've been Canadian my whole life, and some of the things that Gumpy says, I'm not convinced that reflect the rest of us here.
We would have never guessed that because we went to Toronto with Gumpy, and he knew nothing about the city. He actually hated a lot of things, and I was like, how do we have our Canadian correspondent is the least Canadian person that there is, but he does have the accent, Ken.
He's got the accent. Listen, I haven't said pal my entire life, but I'm going to go with it. Let's keep it moving, man. Sports broadcasting for me is getting a little stale. That's why everybody loves listening to you boys and the electricity you guys bring every day.
Bingo. Hey, Ken, we appreciate the hell out of you right there. We're trying our best. Some shows stink. Some are great. We appreciate you for listening along internationally, though.
Well, with no fans in the stands, I feel like we're going to need a different approach and energy in the booth, man. I feel like it's also the time to try something different, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about how the broadcast might change with the new reality of games.
You know how it changed. Bring energy to the booth, but they won't fucking do it. Listen, that is exactly what you do because you're the response, right? In these incredible commentators, there's a lot of incredible commentators. Some shit, but there's some incredible commentators out there. And they're taught, by the way, because both sides fan bases are listening, you have to, just big J journalists, you have to kind of ride in between. Let's not get too excited, not too high on the high or lows on the lows. You got to remember both sides are in there. And I just don't live by that. I live by, if something awesome happens, I'm going to pop off. And I think that could potentially be something in these dead environments, especially like what's baseball going to do? It's a very slow sport to begin with, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
And I don't know how much crowd interaction really matters, but something's going to have to bring a little bit of electricity to coverage. I think is going to have to happen.
They do a lot of cutaway shots in baseball to like this fans and like stuff like that. Like there's going to be a lot of stuff they need to fill, I think.
You know what? This is what you do. You get Red Panda in the outfield.
Yes. Smart.
Get her tested. Get her in there. You get the quick change folks. You get them in the outfield. And like in between, you just go to Red Panda on her unicycle, flipping bowls, and it's like, all right, back to the pitch. Then bang, we go to quick change. You just do every single one of those every single night. That's how you fix it. Get them COVID-19 tested. Bingo, bango. Now we're safe and we're entertaining.
Yeah, I was watching Buccas and Indians on Friday night, and as far as sports coming back, this was the most weird as far as no fans. It feels like I didn't realize how much the crowd brings to a baseball game because there's so much time in between pitches and in between batters and stuff like that. There's a lot of dead air.
Hey, boys. You're going to hear a lot of that right here. Hey, not about any there. Hey,
what are you saying now, babe?
Hey, and then once that die.
Hey, stay alive.
Use that catcher's cam.
What's
cool,
that?
It's a cool cam.
Oh, yeah. They got a camera now on the catcher's basically face mask, and it's a shot from behind the plate, and it's the entire stadium. It's unbelievable.
Are umpires there, or are they doing the fucking square thing?
I think umpires are there.
See, this would be the year, if you weren't going to add the umpires and just use the strike zone, this would be the year to do it. Since they're not doing it now, let's assume that's never going to happen.
Probably fair. Yep.
Let's go to Travis in Michigan. What's going on up there in the Mitt?
Hey, Pat. How you doing?
Not too shabby. I'm sorry you're up there in Michigan, but it's a beautiful place. Just sports teams stink.
It can be. Yeah, good thing I'm not all Detroit fan. But so I got two quick questions for you. One, with your wedding coming up, is Zito going to be reading there or no? And then two, with the NFL shorten their season, are their games too valuable to shorten up?
Great question, Travis. That was one of those things, just like the families joining the bubble that we tabled months ago, and kind of forgot about, to be honest with you, Joe, right now. Zito, how do you think your reading abilities are right now? Pretty good?
Are we off the radio right now?
Yeah, we're off the radio.
I forgot to do my ad read. and so reading has been bad.
Remembering to read.
But there will be a microphone available for people to give toasts and such during the evening. So,
so
we
I can
will,
take my chance.
Zito will speak, but during the actual, it's going to be very fucking hot, I think. So we're trying to make the ceremony, which is outside, as quick as possible. Then whenever we get into the very expensive air-conditioned places that we'll be in, that's where I think the entertainment will lie. Ceremony, though, is going to be, okay, let's do our vows. Last night, we're writing our own vows, by the way.
Ooh, nice.
I started sampling some vows last night to Sam, and she did not love them. You know what I mean?
Well, they're yours.
I vow to, and I was just making the most absurd fucking comments, and I thought she was potentially going to cancel the wedding last night because of what my vows could be. I think last night she was like, oh no, this is how this could go if he wants. I vow to always be the most awesome human on earth around you. I vow, like that type of shit. She's like, no, maybe we just go to the standard old vows if this is what you're going to be. And at that point, since I was so slap happy tired from the 200 floors and I was on vitamins, I found myself in a deep giggle. And I couldn't stop. And the more and more vows that I just kept giving out, the worse and worse it got.
The worst reception.
The worst reception it got. And it just kept, I vow to, always long to be an even better host of a show so that we can continue to live a beautiful life together while being in love. And she's like, no, like that's not what vows are. I'm like, I vow to wear these loafers that I currently have on that are nice as fuck at least 3 times a month. She's like, no. And I just got into this weird state of mind, and it just kept on going and going. So the longest part of the ceremony might be the vows. And I think Sam is very worried about what they potentially are at this point. She actually asked for me to go first after hearing me last night because she would like to know what, because she's not a big public speaker, right? She is not happy about us potentially doing our own vows here. But I think she wants to potentially follow what I got going on. I'm like, I don't know if that's the right move.
Bad idea.
I don't know if that's the right move. But yeah, so the ceremony you probably won't be reading it because we're trying to expedite that entire process.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's more ceremonial, I
hot in
believe.
here.
Yeah.
Which it is a ceremony, I guess. So
Thank you for that.
In fairness, too, it'd be hard to read that ad read from the grave that Urlacher put you in.
Hey, it's a good grave to be in. He's only took out the best.
He's fucking awesome.
He's amazing.
Hey, there's a little spice in there too. I like that.
Oh yeah.
I like that. I enjoy whenever. That's why me and AJ, by the way. That's why me and AJ Hawk have such good.
He should be on McAfee and Hawk one of these days.
Oh,
that'd be hilarious.
Obviously me in the middle, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. I mean, Hawk over here on this side, Urlacher on this side, and
the
the
real
glue
middle backer.
that's really tight.
I can imagine he prevented AJ from getting a lot of Pro Bowls.
I would assume he and AJ are very good friends, though.
For sure.
They seem like pretty similar humans who had to play the very similar games in a very similar position.
Both great jawlines too.
Great jawlines.
Great jawlines. That guy, what did you eat during the season? Oh, fucking Big Macs, Dr. Pepper, Sonic, you name it. I'm like, are you kidding?
Soup, salad, breadsticks.
Yeah,
no, it was a little
Olive
better.
Garden when he was trying to diet a bit.
Yeah, OGs, dude, come on. Is OG still dead or are they back? OGs was dead there for a day, if you do recall. There was a time there where we were talking about things, and there was any potential word that came out of my mouth could have been canceled. And that was an interesting time to do a show. Because now that we're after that, it's like, okay, now we know all these things just are done for. But there was a time there where things were popping up in the middle of the show that were just happening. And it's like, oh no. Got to keep your head on a swivel in a vicious cancel cockfight. And there was Olive Garden got, I think, in the middle of that.
Remember, as far as OG is concerned, that heroes get remembered, but legends never die.
Amen to that.
True.
I'd say I don't know if you're even allowed to say that, what you just said right there. I don't know how deep the cancellation was for them, man. And I'm not going to agree with you. I'm not going to agree with what you just said there. I'm not going to get tied into whatever Tone Diggs just said. But if they aren't completely canceled and didn't do anything too terrible, you're fucking 100% right. Those bottomless soup. Soup, the salad. Oh, the breadsticks.
The gnocchi soup.
But if they did something terrible, believe, we hate all that.
Yeah. Never again.
Pete in Oregon.
I didn't know that it was a cancellation situation. I thought it was a unfortunately may not survive the quarantine situation.
No, OGs will survive.
Yeah. They will.
That's what I was
Well,
saying.
maybe not if they got.
That's what I was saying. I didn't know it was a cancellation situation.
That's literally what I just talked.
I know.
literally did
I know.
a 2-minute diatribe.
I know.
Somebody look into it.
Somebody should be
Christ's
telling us
sake.
right now
Yeah.
whether or not we can
I
compliment
believe
fucking Olive
I
Garden.
believe it was a mask. Like people weren't they made people wear masks and people got mad about it. If I remember correctly, the story.
Okay, so they
So it wasn't like a deep cut cancellation.
Okay, all right.
Just a.
So we can still enjoy their salad and soup.
We love
Absolutely.
their salads.
Absolutely.
But since they don't wear masks, it might be COVID-19 in that bottomless. It's a never-ending cycle. Pete in Oregon, what's going on?
Hey man, great show today. Love the banter.
Oh, we appreciate that. I'll tell you what, sometimes I get rather high before coming in here, and it just, who knows where the show's going to go. 31-minute opening segment without going to break was wild. It was a wild start, Pete. It really put us on a bad path, but we got through it, brother.
I love it. I just want to talk about Home Game, a Netflix series that really highlights some great extreme sports around the world. And I just think you guys check it out. It's a good time.
Appreciate you, Pete. We did watch it, the Calcio Storico or Calcio Storico over there in Florence, I believe, Italy. They love Florence, by the way. I did not know that Florence people love Florence as much as everybody to a human in that thing said Florence, greatest city in the world. And they all fight for it. Obviously, that game is savage. We are trying to, by the way, potentially do something with that game.
Ooh. Please.
So I like that Pete's on the same page as us, but we have already made connections in Italy to potentially, I don't want to say I'll play in that thing, but there's going to be some sort of coverage, I believe, from us in that particular thing.
Hell yeah.
Because Pete, much like you, I saw that first episode and I said, holy shit, it's 2020 and this game is still happening. I would like to see it. It's just like the running with the bulls and you hear about these things that are still happening. You're like, I would like to see that. That's a sport that I would like to see more of. Now, granted, I don't know why they don't do more tackling. Everybody's doing fist fighting. And I think that's just kind of like, I just want to fight this guy or whatever. I feel like the spear is the move.
Well, all you gotta do is get into the ground.
So once you go down, you can't get back up.
Yeah. I know.
So why fist fight
the
somebody?
reason why
Because if you knock them out, then you just go on to the next one. Go knock someone else out.
I don't think people are just fucking drive-by knockouts. I think it's both guys end up in like hockey fight, falling on each other. And I guess if you just want to throw hands, you can. And I assume some of those guys that we saw in that video do just want to throw hands. Yeah. But if I'm in there, I'm coming spear and potentially trying to do like a
CPR?
No, like I would say like linebackers whenever they're about to get cut, they like do their hands thing. If you could, I think the best move of that sport would be spear, hand on chest. You don't touch ground. You're back up. Let's do another spear. It's almost like you're running like a cheetah runs. You know, like your two front hands get you up.
It's also weird though because when they do take them down, they lay on top of them like as if they are allowed to get up, but.
Yeah, they just lay on top of each other, and then there's like some jabbing in there,
couple knees.
It's a savage sport, dude.
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy I didn't grow up in Florence and was forced to play it, but I wouldn't mind watching it. Imagine if you're not like the most alpha guy, but your entire family's in there. It's like, you know what happened once a year? You get your fucking ass in there in that cage.
What's that like?
What's that?
I said Foxy can tell us what that's.
Yeah, imagine if Foxy was forced to get in there with his, pretty little, tiny little string bean body.
I truly have no idea what you guys are talking about because I have not seen this yet.
First episode's the only episode you need to watch.
Okay,
the other games stink.
Yep. Yeah, the first. Except for the one where they knock around that goat's head. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard for me to watch it. Yeah, it's probably hard to watch that stuff. I don't know. Let's go to Daniel in New York. What's going on, Daniel?
So I'm a huge gymnastics fan. And the collegiate gymnastics season is supposedly threatened if there's no basketball season or football season. So I was wondering what's your opinion?
So I think in the SEC, great call, Daniel. I did not know that at West Virginia, there was a Big East gymnastics championship in the arena, and I walked out one of the teams. So they had like a couple of the football players and a couple of the basketball players walk out one of the teams. That environment was electric because it was like their championship, I believe. So it felt like almost like an Olympic, because I'll get into gymnastics every 4 years. Listen, every 4 years I get into gymnastics. I start being a critic. I start scoring other people. I start going crazy. Know nothing about the fucking sport aside from the drama and all the bad stuff, PR that happens off the mat or the horse or the spring thing or the thing that all that
uneven
stuff,
bars,
all those things. So I don't know anything about what's going on in there, but for every 4 years I'll turn into a hey, that's our squad right there. Because by the way, America for the last few Olympics, it has been our sport, and it hasn't always been like that, obviously. Now, I did learn about the rules being broken with younger athletes coming in and everything like that. But I do believe that football will be the last sport, if it's in a school where football makes a lot of money, to be moved. And if it's moved, I don't think it affects any of the other things. I think the other things are already being moved. If you look at the SEC, every fall sport but football has already been suspended or delayed or something like that. So football, I believe, is going to live in its own world while the other sports are going to live in their own world if it's in a conference where the football makes money. If it's not in a conference where football makes money, I'm not 100% sure what will happen. I think all sports will be lumped together.
Also, gymnastics, one of those sports where the amount of manpower and money it costs to set up that event. I had to do that when I was at Iowa. Big Ten gymnastics is like, it's fairly a big deal. Like every team almost has one, but you need to bring in 40 to 50 people, and it takes like 6-7 hours to set up. Like, because they usually do it in like a basketball arena, and you have to put everything down. It is a nightmare. It's a pain in the ass. So I will not. Cut your losses, kind of.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Gymnastics was very low on that LSU list of sports.
Come on.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I
like gymnastics.
Hey, entertaining. Very entertaining.
It is very entertaining.
Yeah.
I wish more people would watch it. Or, you know what I mean? I wish they had like pro teams almost.
Yeah, they got to put Biles on. If they put Simone Biles on national television, I feel like people will watch that.
But the issue, to be good, you have to dedicate like your entire life to it. So I think once you accomplish your goal, which is the Olympic gold medal or whatever it is in college, you I don't want to say you don't want to do that for the rest of your life, which is what it would take to have a professional league. So it's kind of stuck in that purgatory of like awesome sport, but will it ever grow in mass because it's only once every 4 years that people care about it? I'm not 100% sure.
And I don't think any of those elite people, because like you said, like you're going and training somewhere year round from the time you're like 12 to like, you're not going and doing gymnastics in college. You're on the national team.
Yeah, by 16.
By the way, Daniel in New York, big gymnastics fan.
Huge gymnastics
Is that the
fan.
first human I've ever talked to that has personally singled themselves out as a massive gymnastics fan?
Yeah. I love
think
the pommel horse.
What's that?
I love the pommel horse.
The rest of it, though, can do without just the pommel horse.
I love the pommel horse.
Are you rattled because of what Urlacher said to you?
I am so rattled. I feel like I have CTE.
Well, Urlacher potentially did that
Right?
to a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go to Aaron in Ohio. Last call before we wrap up for the day. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, Pat? I'm sitting here in my St. Louis Blues coat suit from store at PatMcAfeeShow.com.
Oh,
nice, baby.
Thank you. I thought we were going to have to get into it because the Pens are going to win, obviously, but instead you turn it into a promo, and we very much appreciate that. You're very nice.
There you go. So what I wanted to talk to you about today, I wanted to bring up a scenario that I think Ty Schmidt will probably be thinking about nonstop until the NFL season, because it involves his number one stooge and sellout, Russell Wilson. So we all know that he tweeted out that his wife is pregnant. So I wanted to see what you thought about if he would potentially sit out. What do you think the chances are that the Seahawks bring in Colin Kaepernick, because we know that they've been looking into him?
Very great question. Russell Wilson stating his worries about going back into sports with his wife being pregnant. I think that was a part of the entire initiative of the hashtag We Want to Play, to kind of show unity in the conversation about safety being first and foremost in the conversations with the NFL. I would assume that Russell Wilson will be playing this year for the Seattle Seahawks, especially if everybody else in the NFL is going to be playing. But if they weren't, who's Geno? They got Geno Smith over there as backup quarterback. And Pete Carroll has said that he has had interest in Colin Kaepernick. Maybe he brings in Colin Kaepernick if Russell Wilson isn't playing. But I would assume that Colin Kaepernick will be on that short list of quarterbacks that get brought in this year, as opposed to years past, if somebody gets hurt, or maybe not. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know how scouting feels about it and everything like that, but I do like the fact it feels like the NFL and Kaepernick's relationship is kind of coming together a little bit more. I always assumed that he'd end up working for the NFL for the league office, and I think Roger Goodell even said that in a press conference. Is he still a quarterback that can play in the NFL? Nobody knows, because he hasn't played for, 4 years at this point. Yeah. If he can, I hope he makes the team. If he can't, I hope he still works with the NFL, because that relationship is one that could be pretty cool to watch kind of come back together with the best league on earth, kind of rebutting a relationship with somebody that was obviously on the outs with them.
And Pete Carroll said, too, like they didn't want to sign him because he thought that he would get a starter position somewhere else. So
yeah, and that could be bullshit, too, from Pete Carroll. Yeah. We're not 100% sure, or it could be nothing has ever told me that Pete Carroll just lies every time he speaks, so who knows? But, yeah, I think a lot of people expected that at some point, but now we're 4 years removed from it. That's a long time not to be in games. I mean, that is a long time not to be in games. If he can pull it off, nothing short of impressive.
You definitely don't want to sign a backup QB who's good enough to start somewhere else, right?
What are you talking about?
The logic just doesn't make any sense. Well, I don't want to sign him because he could start somewhere else.
Well, I think he was explaining his angle was I don't want to take him because he's not going to start here because Russell's our guy, which, by the way, not a bad web to spin, by the way. Mm-hmm. And then he said somebody else was interested. Remember, he was giving a lot of good for Pete, man. 14 minutes after the hour, we got to get the hell out of here. But we do have
first break we're gonna hit right.
Mullet Mitt run through his minutes. I might run out and take a bathroom break, but I will have my ears in. Okay, Mitt? So if you say anything wrong in the next 45 seconds to a minute, I will remember it, and I hope these boys hold you accountable. Ladies and gentlemen, Connor, not you. Mute his mic. Mute his mic. Ladies and gentlemen, intern Mitt with no longer the mullet, fresh ass haircut actually, with today's minutes. Good luck out there, Mitt. I'm pulling for you.
All right, let's go. Big day, big
day.
Come on, big day.
Hum bip.
NBA scrimmages are starting today, and we talked about everything about the bubble. New rules have rolled out from the NFL. No preseason games this year. Oh no! Downside of this, owners will have no trial runs for getting fans in the stands, and undrafted rookies are getting kind of fucked.
Here you go.
The Detroit Lions fan base might be the most hurt by this though, because that's the only games they really win.
Well said.
NHL is planning on unveiling their facilities. Give me a bed, give me some ice, and let's fucking go. Diggs got a little giddy talking about upcoming gambling, completely bashed my sports league. We had baseball is back. Check out Pat's Twitter and go vote for our Super Boost poll. Everyone knows Ty's rooting for the Yankees. You should be too. Big baseball show. Kevin Youkilis came and joined the show. Every time you step in a batter's box, there's a chance that you're going to get smoked. Astros made their bed, now have to unmake it and sleep in it. We talked Youkilis' expectations for the season. Everything is going to revolve around the bullpen. He brought a tear to my eye, telling amazing stories about opening day with his father, RIP. Simply Safe ad, flawless digs. Static Rush Internet Detective has reason to believe that the Washington football team TBDs will become the DC Sentinels.
Let's go, Mitt.
Come on. BMS would make more sense if it was made about Pat's West Virginia team. Graduate of the University of New Mexico, Brian Urlacher came on, talked his savvy business moves, his amazing hair, being the best athlete on the field as a linebacker, the new trends of smaller linebackers, Gronk being a 95 on Madden when Aaron Rodgers is a damn 89. It's a big year for the Chicago Bears. Brian has no clue who's going to be the starting QB, believes and respects the shit out of Mitch Trubisky. He played with 21 different starting quarterbacks his 13 years in Chicago. Zito was almost murdered by Brian Urlacher, but was kind of a joke, I guess.
How's this been pretty good?
Actually,
I've
very
been
good
listening.
so
I
far.
saw he pieced some things together
good.
from later in the show to previously in the show.
He even
about
did
the Lions.
He did the "Oh No" Kevin Hart as well.
I saw that. I heard the "Oh No." It wasn't a bad delivery.
We ended the show taking some phone calls. Zito forgot to do an ad read. We missed every single radio break today, and that was the show.
Hey,
there you go, man.
Not a bad show. Here, Wednesday, July 22nd. Tomorrow, the baseball kicks off. Mitt just reminded you of this while I was taking a piss, but please go vote on the Twitter poll at Pat McAfee Show for which team we want a super boost. Is it the Yankees or is it the Nationals? We will also be doing a watch-along for tomorrow night's game with special guests popping in a la the NFL draft first round that we did. Can't wait for one of the 4 major sports to come back tomorrow night. Excited to do the show every single day. You're the absolute greatest. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the show if you enjoyed it. And if you didn't like today's show, just act like it never fucking happened. Cheers. We'll see you manana.